Come. No need to pray for me. Come. No need to cry for me. I'm in cloud face. No one's gonna break me. So far, no one can stop. No need to pray for me. No need to cry for me. This is cloud face. No one's gonna break me.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to the GCS. I am D2. With me is the Source, and we are back at it with the GCS. Obviously, we've been doing RPL all week, but back on it with the GCS, which is probably the highest level league in the entire world. And just to show that to you guys, our first match is an absolute doozy. It's going to be World Champion AHQ, that's the Korean roster, going off against the AWC third place team. That's going to be J-Team. And we have an amazing set of matches for you today. Starting off with one of the matches of the season so far. One of the, probably the best match remaining, you could say, in this J-Team versus AHQ tip-off. You okay?
Sorry, I'm dying.
That was a bad throw. Or was
Yeah, no,
like, what are you doing?
I just suddenly started dying.
Well,
to that point of it being a good matchup, we also will later have Flash Wolves versus J Team. So like this week gives us some real juggernaut matches, and J Team, I mean, they want to be able to overtake Flash Wolves at some point. The score is dead even. 7-1 in terms of series, 14-3 in terms of map score, 11 points apiece. This is basically a dead heat, so AHQ could very much upset J-Team, and we've seen them have mixed results. They went 2-1 against Flash Wolves, so they were able, they're still a very good team, but we haven't seen them kind of stomp out teams, and they dropped a series 2-1 to one team. So AHQ, the time for the redemption story.
Yeah, AHQ,
now is the time.
They've definitely been up and down, but they've at least maintained a baseline of skill, if that makes any sense. We haven't seen them just reach the depths like we've seen with SMG, for instance. Though SMG, last time we casted, we saw SMG surprisingly take out J-Team to give them their only loss of the season, which resulted in tears on the stage after that match ended. But yeah, it's going to be very intriguing to see how this plays out, because like you mentioned, and as we do take a look at the standings right here, so like you were mentioning, J-Team and Flash Wolves at 7-1, tied after SMG defeated J-Team. Flash Wolves' only loss is to J-Team. AHQ has lost to J-Team, Flash Wolves, and one team. The one team had a very disappointing loss to Monster Shield in last place there, giving Monster Shield their only win of the season. And our second match of the day is HKA versus ONE, so that's going to be very interesting as well to see how that playoff picture goes. And also SMG trying to make it back to the playoffs. Obviously that huge win against J-Team, catapulting them. And then there's Mad, who unfortunately has no storylines. Very sad.
No, I mean, the best they can do is keep Monster Shield in the bottom spot. All they can do is try and rack up as many points as they can and hope that Monster Shield doesn't make a miraculous comeback. And they also play each other tomorrow, so that'll be the battle of the bottom. But it will kind of be for that relegation spot.
By the way, so I'm sure you know about the PvP championships coming up. This weekend. So the Taiwanese representative, the invited team from Taiwan, is actually Monster Shield.
Yes, I saw that.
So that's really interesting because, not to be too mean, but it kind of evens the playing field, right? Because if it was some juggernaut Taiwanese team, there wouldn't be a reason to even play. Just give it to them. And so
I don't know about that. I mean, I would say the middle of the table Taiwanese teams. I'd say that would still be. I would say
Wait, which way are you going with this? Are you going they're way too strong, or the middle teams aren't gonna win everything, or which way
No,
are you
no, no.
going?
I'm saying one team SMG HKA. If you sent any of them, I still think it would be a fair fight.
Oh, okay. Well, Monster Shield did show pretty good games when they defeated one team, so there is that. They've kind of turned the corner, as you will, and they never looked that bad when they lost. It just kind of seemed like the pressure of being winless and the humiliation kind of just built upon itself. So I think that Monster Shield is probably one of the favorites. No offense to Flipside Tactics, but I think they certainly are favorites over the American representative. The other team is a Thai team who I am not aware of, but they did win like a $18,000 first place qualifier in order to get there, so there was certainly motivation to try to get to the tournament in the first
I actually
place.
don't think they even need to put. So hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
What are you talking about now?
Oh, I'm looking at the PvP and Flipside, Monster Shield, and Legend of Kid, which I don't know where that team is a representative from. None of those teams are playing right now. They're in a group stage, which I didn't realize. So those 3 teams are direct invites into the bracket stage.
Right. Well, yeah, like I'm looking at it now. I didn't realize how many games they were already in, but yeah, they've played. There are only 6 teams playing right now. I'm assuming that Monster Shield is going to be.
Yeah, they're
going over
direct
there?
invites. So the top 5 out of group stage will meet the 3 Flipside Tactics, Monster Shield, and Legend of Kid in a bracket stage.
Are you sure that's how that works? I think
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Well, by direct invite, it means they didn't have to qualify because.
Yeah, but they're not playing in the group stage.
Maybe they're playing afterward. I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe.
Yeah, I think they're going directly into a bracket because it's showing 5 teams make it out of group stage plus 3 direct invites gives you 8 teams in a quarterfinal. So it is a double elimination bracket. Once they get to that.
Also, I'm looking at the stats. XD Gaming for India. In any case, sorry about that. Let's get back to the GCS, which is what we're casting right now. Star on Team JT has the highest KDA of the league so far at 8.41, which I don't know. I don't know what to think about that. It's just kind of there. Someone has to have it, and Star does. So there you go. Are we looking at just J teams? I'm not really sure. There's no actual indication in the characters.
Yeah, I'm not strictly sure. I really can't say.
It could be either way, right? This could be the top of the league, or it could just be top on GT. We have no idea. This is
It could always just
kills.
be both.
Yeah, it's true. That's what I meant, right? So this is top kills, obviously 4.47. You can tell by the sword. I can kind of tell by the characters, but sword's better. So yeah, no surprise there for Neil. No surprise there for Star as well. And yeah, the thing is with this league is that so many of the teams are so consistently good that for J team to be doing as well as they are is pretty impressive by them. You see Benny here with the most assists at 7.29. But yeah, AHQ versus J team, obviously. Oh, okay, so they actually were the top 3 as we took a look at SMG Hanzo, who is not a part of this match, and he has the most MVPs at 9. Hanzo playing mid, so not all that surprising there. And this is most average damage taken.
Yeah, give me that nice purple shield. Sorry, I still had the PvP event up, and I understood what you were talking about, XD and the India representative. I'm like, oh, now I see what you're talking about. Oh, they're having a bad day.
Yeah, they absolutely are. Although part of me is a bit happy about that, and I'll tell you why in a second. So we take a look at AHQ, our world champions, Sun, Rush, Hawk, Pew, and J-Jock. Pew replacing Chaser once again, so it looks like they prefer having him on the team. Pew, if you didn't know, was the replacement for Rocker on the North American team at the AWC, so he is a multicultural man. Obviously, he's from Korea, but that's really interesting to see him on there. But anyway, back to the reason why I want to talk about India. So India unfortunately has many members who suffer from Dunning-Kruger syndrome, and the many Redditors, and you know how I get angry at Redditors, saying
Yeah.
like, well, it's like they're like, well, India's silver is like your server's platinum or gold or diamond, and it's like, do you? I think you have it backwards, and there's just many members of India who are like that. And I don't know why. Maybe it's just there's like such a high population that there's gonna be more of those people out there. Just the numbers game, but yeah, just to see
that doesn't even track, because if you look at the population of South Korea and you look at the correlation between the number of South Korean people in the country and the number of South Korean players at a professional level across a multitude of esports, then that argument is completely invalid. Like more people doesn't equal that you have more great players. Like that just like literally doesn't
no.
equate.
I was like kind of backtracking on my argue. I was trying to not be too mean to India by saying that like they have so many people that there's going to be more stupid people. That was my argument. Not that they're gonna be better at
that there has to be some good people, because like that is also completely thrown out the window when you look at something like
I was saying the opposite. I was trying to defend normal Indians, who I'm sure there are millions out there. Just trying to backtrack on my statement because I don't know. I get angry at stupid Reddit comments sometimes. So yeah.
Yeah, it's if the easiest way to prove that is you look at international play, and you look at international play over a long period of time.
Yeah, and unfortunately for
India has not risen to the top of any esport so far. Maybe they've very much like South Africa. So we'll see how India grows over the next few years.
Yeah, and I think that mobile esports is probably India's best chance. As you can see, Thailand, we were talking about that the other day. I think Arena Valor is their best esports by far. I mean, we were going through all the different games, and it's on mobile. South America is getting better at esports because of this. It's just that like developing countries, it's hard to afford a blazing fast computer to play games on, so you just grab a phone
or have the infrastructure for the internet to be able to play said games.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Yeah. It's just it's a matter of time and a matter of growth, and mobile esports kind of lets you jump beyond that a little bit,
which is good, and we'll actually see the playing field get leveled over the next few years / decades, which I'm certainly really looking forward to. Did they just have those insignia affixed to them from now on? Like, by the way, these guys,
these guys are the best.
The best. All right, really excited for this one. Starting off with a ban on Violet and Raz. The Raz ban is intriguing to me because Raz has been extremely good, but it's not someone you immediately think of to ban.
I feel like G-Team has played some pretty solid Raz.
Right.
In the past.
I think it's a creative ban is what I'm trying to get at. It's like it's a stealthily good ban,
Yeah. I mean, we've seen it be pretty valuable in this league in general, but I'm taking a look and they have some Raz games under their belt to the point where it's a fair pick or ban. Like when SMG beat J-Team, they banned Raz both games.
By the way,
yeah.
If you guys don't know, Taiwan has already undergone a pretty big patch. And if you want to know the patch, go to samuraigamers.com. It's the newest article there. Violet was nerfed because of Soul Reaver. Soul Reaver is not for junglers or for marksmen anymore. They just made it that way. And they also
I feel like you can still make the case on Violet.
Right.
Like, I think she's the only one. But...
Yeah, she's the only one. And the fact that it's close is problematic for her, right? Because every single other marksman is like, well, it was kind of a question between the two, so now we definitely go for Scorching Wind. Whereas for Violet, the fact that it's even close and you're not even supposed to put it on a marksman is a problem. The other thing is that
I just take her out of the jungle at that point.
Right, and you put in the sideline, which this definitely helps as far as the sideline marksman because they've lowered the price on all the crit items. The other thing is that Pyrrha got a pretty significant nerf. Like, she basically gets like 3% of the max HP or of the lost HP, less healing, and 90 less armor on her ultimate when she's at level 15. So that's pretty substantial. In any case, I wanted to throw that out there as we had those bans. But
yeah, no, those are actually very the pure thing was very significant to like how you kind of want to play and set things up for her.
all right, so AHQ picks up Chognar first. Chognar also got a slight nerf, but an indirect one because of the new suppress factors on both Roxy and Alistair, but obviously those are just individual characters. So Chognar's still strong. We don't know yet whether they're going to play it on Sun in the side lane or as a support. So we'll see. The J team picks up Liliana and Lindis. Certainly strong candidates there. And Lindis still very good with that Scorching Wind. So perfectly fine there.
Yeah, the Scorching Wind change. I mean, it is a buff. It doesn't feel.
Well, for Lindis, it's really nice because she gets all of the magic damage extra goodies on her ultimate. Like, everything applies. So
Yeah. No. For Lindis, I definitely like it. I'm just like, if they hadn't nerfed Soul Reaver, there'd be parts of me that was like, don't take Scorching Wind. It's not necessarily the best in every Devin scenario. And then I'm like,
yeah, PTSD. You're like, oh no, you have to take it, don't you?
And then it's like, no, you kind of need to take it. Like, the buff wasn't that significant, but I think the nerf to Soul Reaver just like kind of makes it a no-brainer.
In case you guys don't know, by the way, go to the article. But Soul Reaver's damage was decreased by 40, and
flat.
Yeah, to replace that, to make up for that, there's this extra ability that allows you to do more damage, but only for melee heroes. So yeah, not a great situation. Oh, okay, so it looks like we're going to potentially have an assassin jungler with Lindis in the side lane, which is something we've only really seen in RPL, I want to say, unless maybe it was last week's GCS and I'm confusing the two.
No, that's all been RPL. RPL in my solo queue game has been seeing that Lindis. I don't mind it in this scenario. I also, so here's the thing. I think that they are trying to curb the marksman jungler because in almost no other MOBA are marksmen ever junglers. No other MOBA. In League of Legends, it's incredibly rare. You have maybe Kindred and Graves was specifically designed to do that when they changed him. Like, they made him as this sort of middling range marksman jungler.
Wait, hold on. I really want to see Illumia Yiboneth.
We won't get it.
I really want to see Illumia Yiboneth. It's so good.
I do too, and I have a whole bunch of rounds on her that I've been like bringing down in terms of how long they are. But to that point, I do think that they are starting to try and curb the marksman jungler because it's in a couple of ways it really defeats the opportunity to get at the marksman. Whereas I think they're okay with people like the Fennec a little bit. They're okay with the consistent auto attacking marksman, but I think they want to like put more into the lane, which is why the Talanis change that is in this patch is specific to the idea of her hitting heroes, not monsters, and like that is.
Yeah, when I was testing her out to see what this was all about, because I'm like, wait a second, isn't this just less damage? Because her actual physical damage goes down when you activate Eagle Eye. But then I started building whatever build was set there, and was like, wait, these are large purple numbers. She's critting for magic damage. Oh my goodness. In any case,
dude, I honestly love that. I love that with a passion.
Oh my goodness. Second mage incoming with the Telenos. Anyway, so we did have the Crixie picked up, which is slightly surprising to me. And it looks like Hawk's going to be playing that. But also the Slims, which was already pretty good with the Scorching Wind, now going to be even better. So we'll see how that works out for them. Now, back over the J team, their last hero ends up being Superman. And, okay, I was going to say, what's going on? Okay, Yuzan is on the Superman. He is a very good Superman. And this is going to be really interesting because this is a pretty big departure from what J team has been running lately. And perhaps their match with SMG has made them reconsider things.
Yeah, I think that one, they're looking at the marksman jungler and looking at the consistency of marksman junglers, and by taking the Cricknack, they feel confident that they're like, okay, we've now got an answer to blow up the mid, an answer to blow up the marksman jungler, pretty solid burst damage to follow up with the Liliana. Like, we have some tools. We've got plenty of crowd control too, so we don't need to stick that into onto our jungler. And again, I think that we're going to slowly see an adaptation, not completely away from marksman junglers, but we're going to start to see people lean into more of the assassins. We've seen plenty of Nacroth, and we've seen a resurgence of Cricknack, but I do think that is, like, those two are going to become much harder staples than we have seen so far. And I actually really like that, because it's going to make the compositions a little bit more dynamic. To the side of AHQ, they've got Sun on Omen, which is good for answering the Superman. They've got Chognar, which is good for answering the Mina. They've basically picked a pretty solid lineup of damage, counter engage, re-engage. The only thing I would say is they're mildly vulnerable with the Crixie, but Crixie can also kind of be that backline safe character. And as far as people who can mildly deal with a Cricknack, I think she's okay when it comes to mid lane, especially with Liliana on the other side. So honestly, I think both these compositions are pretty even across the board.
Well, we'll see how this turns out as Hawk throws about the mischief to start things off in the mid lane here, and neither side is going to go for that invade, it looks like. I have to ask you a question, well, since we went across the players like that. When you have your charger in your phone, do you like having the charger going through your right hand or your left hand?
It goes through my left hand, but I also play on a tablet. So the way mine is set up is it's in between my middle and index finger on my left hand, the way I hold my tablet.
Yeah, I think because I was watching, and everyone in HQ, there were like 4 out of 5 people in HQ have it through their left hand, and I was like, wait, I have it through my right hand, and again through the middle and index finger, and J Team had all 5 go through the right hand, which made me feel better. So now I'm officially rooting for J Team.
Mine is specifically because of the side that my tablet needs to be on to run the mini HDMI cable. So it's really just an adaptation of practice, not really that much of a preference. It's like, this is how I stream, so I kind of had to. But so far in the match, we've seen both the teams kind of just clear things out fairly safely. I guess to the lane matchups, because they had already come into the Lindis, there was no Marja answer, or was Marja banned? Marja was banned by HQ. So
yeah,
actually, okay, they planned for that Malik pick. They planned for it. Good AHQ. You done your job well. I
did your homework.
I wholeheartedly support your Malik pick. But I mean, so far, I don't think we're gonna see a massive amount of action. I think that even this right here is going to get slow played for a really long time as they kind of position around the dragon and look for an opportunity.
Yeah, no team really wants to start it because the other team can come in and have good positioning on them. So probably not going to see a whole lot coming out here. But I do want to talk about the top lane matchup here, because Yuzon has just been amazing at, and I'm going to use your word again, bamboozling other omens with a Superman and making it seem like it's not an unfavored matchup in the other omen's favor. But this time he's going off against Sun, who we know is the Silent God. So it's going to be really interesting to look at this Yuzon v Sun matchup here.
Yeah, and I mean, so far, he took some damage and decided to back. He isn't really willing to commit super hard to these plays. He's also not rotating down. So the fact that they feel they need to match Sun, we're going to see probably pretty safe play out of Yuzon. He's gone with Gilded Greaves for the CC reduction, and he's building tanky. And like, we're not seeing that like hyper aggressive Superman build of like, you know, every once in a while you get a Superman who rushes out a rank breaker. A little insane. Pew takes some damage, gets slowed down, pops the shield, wins without having a couple of those tools. But Shock deep onto Neil, but I don't know how you're going to get any real value out of that. There isn't anybody there to follow up. That's a major resource use. So Pew kind of pulling the trigger a little early there. Rush sitting in the mid lane, looking for an opportunity to hit Star, and just this slow defense. Even with Neil now showing up to this again, I think that Rush is going to get there in time, pull back in on the J-Jock, Pew steps forward, goes in with the cleave. It is going to go over to Neil, but that's a big step forward, a huge Dark Dominion, but it doesn't actually result in anything. All they end up getting is Pew, and they're going to lose 2 for that. So a 2-for-1 in favor of AHQ, a good punish back, and I mean, basically even gold.
Yeah, pretty even on the gold there, and like you mentioned, not the greatest engage there from J Team. It was a nice start to Minion, but Benny was extremely low when it happened, so couldn't stay in the fight any longer there. Now, talking about how these two teams are set up, it was really fun. Okay, well, I wanted to mention the fact that both Wins and J-Jock had extremely low mana going into that fight, so that is another consideration to think about. But, okay, hold that thought. Hawk getting really low. I always get those two mixed up for some reason, as Pew pokes a little bit. But what I wanted to mention is that Pew is their sort of substitution, their replacement, right? And he's kind of playing a flex. He's just kind of roaming around doing a bunch of things for them, doing multiple roles. He's also potentially the shot caller because that was the role he held on North America. So interesting. Perhaps he made a call there and the team didn't follow him. Perhaps he's not used to playing with AHQ fully yet. So that's something to look at going forward.
Yeah, that looks like a minor cost separation, but that's going to be a shock into the mid lane. A little bit of pressure on the Star. He'll get away from that. Now they're putting the damage onto Benny. They could very easily kill him. Knock up Mischief. Full combo. They are able to get that kill. The timing isn't there for them to be able to get the dragon, but they can start to set up some significant pressure. And I wanted to note that the Soul Reaver, that's damage on the Star. Wow. Knock up. A little bit of Mischief. Deal goes in. Chaos Protection from Jock or J-Jock. And he will be fine, but I wanted to note the Cricknack build. That's a Leviathan Cricknack. That's not strictly that insane, but like you can already feel the Soul Reaver nerf. Like there might have been some more kills on the side of J Team if Neil could have legitimately gone Soul Reaver or felt that that damage was worth it. Instead, he's gone tanky, and maybe some damage missed. He'll start building his rank breaker, but still, like I didn't think we would see that.
Yeah, exactly. And not having that damage in the early game really halts his killing potential here. Dark Dominion comes in on only Pew here. Let's see who's going to be able to take it. It's going to be able to be Rush on that punish, taking it out. J-Jock taking a lot of damage. Wynn's trying to pursue this, but in comes Hawk for a nice stun and the Moonfall, but he gets pulled in. Probably going to go down, but able to flicker on out of there. So does J-Jock. And that was perfectly executed by HQ, rotating members in and out as they got low and being able to take that team fight and 1,000 gold lead.
And that's the nice advantage of the Crixie is she's a little vanilla in her combo. It's it's skill shot that does a bunch of damage and a knock up, and then you've got your ultimate with the Moonfall. But like, there's not it's not that much of a nuanced character. But given an opportunity like that, you end up finding a kill. You end up just being able to dish out a solid amount of damage that's already into a boomstick. So there could be some opportunities to really put the pressure on the Star. So we'll see how well Hawk is able to do that. And yeah, I'm thinking about how that was playing on the bottom half of the fight. Pew was low, and Neil couldn't kill him.
Okay, look at those swords. I need to stop you for one moment because it's not going to last very long. Look at all those swords. In any case, in comes the Moonfall. Lots of damage coming in from Neil. Okay, the Dark Demon comes out here. Hawk gets pulled back in again. Doesn't have the flicker, obviously. Goes for the mischief. Actually gets out of there. Just who needs to have CC when you can just deal damage and make them run away that way? Wins in trouble as well.
Oh, they got that spear.
Yeah, that's going to be Dunzo for Wins there. And Wins not being able to do a whole lot here on the Lindis. And I should mention that Slims with a might buff and Slims without a might buff are practically two separate characters here, because getting that slow is super good. It's so useful for him to be able to do that, and his Slims are always on point for here for Rush.
Yeah, I mean, there was a moment that I think J Team got caught up in their heist to the knife store. Neil, I'm not really sure you want that. That's going to be the pullback in by Pew. Dark Dominion is used to draw him underneath the tower, but Hawk has got that damage. And like I said, once you kind of get a Crixie going, she just throws out skill shots, zone denies, gets a lot of damage in there. And this looks like it's going to be another Abyssal Dragon going over to Rush. Actually, Shock into the backline, flicker over the wall. Winds will juke out pretty much everything coming at him. He should be fine. Momentarily, AHQ will secure themselves an additional objective. Meanwhile, in the top lane, we've had this slow roll of Sun beating up on Yuzun because he took the tower. Like, there was no kill there, but he's just like, I guess I'm just Omen, man. Praise the sun.
He did not get the kill on Superman there with the Death's Embrace, but obviously just keeping that pressure on, allowing himself to get the might buff, allowing himself to get the tower, and yeah, like you mentioned, just the slow burn just being so consistent. That, by the way, that's what you got to do when you're Owen. I hate when I have an Owen on my team and he's rotating. Like, no, stay there. You are a huge boon to our team if you just stand over in that lane and make things annoying for them. That's how you do it if you are Sun here.
Yeah, it's slowly gonna spiral out of control for them, and the rest of AHQ has done a very good job of controlling this bottom half of the map. We already see the double crit play coming in from Rush, and to be honest, I don't like this Lindis build. I would have gone War Boots into straight crit. I would have done it like marksman by the book just to match the damage, because you can get crits off of your ultimate. Why wouldn't you just look to kind of build that raw hard damage setup? It seems like Lindis builds are still too generally focused on what you get out of what was the original jungle build, but we'll see whether or not he can kind of pan that out as the game goes on. It looks like he's got Rank Breaker's just been finished, but again, we're at 10 minutes into the game. Rank Breaker is starting to lose value. I feel like J Team is slowly losing some strength.
A lot of times I make fun of you for your distaste of Rank Breaker, but the fact that it's a Lindis and she can't really get to the backline means that the fact that there's no real armor on Crixie and Slims doesn't mean anything, because she's not going to be able to attack them anyway. So, yeah, like you mentioned, needs to get that extra percentage base damage, or just go for something else. Sun is just taking out two people at once. Just no big
Sun don't
deal.
care. Sun don't care. Sun
Oh
don't care.
My goodness. He's like, why are you guys here? I could take this myself. So it's fine. Don't worry about it. Guys, I got it. Okay.
As I like to say, hello, Neil. Do you have a moment to speak about the Church of Sun, your Lord and Savior, AHQ Sun? He will show you the promised land. He will show you the light.
And he just rotates over to the Dark Slayer like it's no big deal. It's like
that right there is so this to the purpose of looking at teams that can match AHQ in terms of skill. Sun is their biggest playmaker because of the fact that he's essentially an immovable object in lane, and you have to very much believe that your solo laner is going to be able to not lose to him. And that starts to mess with your mentality. That starts to let the thoughts creep in, and it messes up teams to the point where they thought they had that 2v1 and they miscalculated.
Did you see that? What's
that
the
damage coming out from Crixie?
No, the lack of damage coming out for Krignax is what I wanted to talk about here.
Oh, that right there is that Soul Reaver nerf. Benny is going to have to run out of there. Chaos Protection was used. Using comes in from the side. A little bit of damage on the Rush. That could be slowly start to become a problem. But we see Sun looking for his next target. He is going to chase out the Superman. Goes in between the towers up in the top lane. That'll be fine. And they've popped the Drake into the middle of the map. That'll help them take down an additional tower. And here is Sun stunned out by Star. They need to use everything they can. Yeah. You have to be aware of how much damage Sun has done. And now that he's gotten that 2v1 kill, they are now afraid of him. For a good reason, but they are afraid of him. That's going to be the Moonfall coming out. Damage onto Benny once again. They had no fear from the side of AHQ to just instantly pop damage onto him. Cube is clearing at the bottom lane. This is going to be a rotation into a second tier 2 tower. And that is going to be all of the tier 2 towers down. AHQ pretty much on a rampage at this point, slowly making their way towards their victory without really giving up any opportunities, except for J-Jock getting pulled underneath that tower. Heal comes out. They've gotten it. They're fine. They're fine. It's fine.
Yeah, good job clearing that wave right there. Star's doing really well at making sure that that's a priority, but obviously taking a lot of damage anytime he steps too close. And at the end of all of that, I think that was 4 towers that they got out of that Dark Slayer, so not too bad, not too shabby here if you are AHQ, still building that lead, still at a 6,000 gold lead at this point, and the damage is really coming in if you are on their side. So it looks like Krignax is finally getting to build towards some damage. Once he builds into the what looks like a Fenrir's Tooth, he can actually start hurting people. So HQ is going to have to look out for that, but other than that, there's not a whole lot going here for J-Team.
Yeah, but at the same time, Omen is working on his last item. He's basically full build. Slims is basically full build. And pretty much everybody else on that team is at 3 items or higher to match out the members of J-Team.
Yeah, it's not
I mean,
good.
even with Cricknat starting to
Well,
build
that's
out
what I'm
some
saying. That's the
damage.
only thing going for them, right? So, a pull in onto
Oh, good
Rush.
pull on Rush.
Oh, he goes down. Good job by Neil actually diving that when everything was in a good position for them. Pew's trying to get away. He's going to get a lot of cleaves off, and he's Malik, so he's not going to go down very easily. And one more cleave, that's a lot of healing for him. He eventually goes down in the end, but severely bruises the rest of the members. But that's kind of okay because they managed to kill Hawk in the process as well. I didn't even notice that at first. So that is the fight that J-Team was looking in for. Unfortunately, they're way too low. So by the time they get back into position, looks like these death timers will be up here for AHQ.
Yeah, that right there is the strength of just J-Team's skill in general. The moment they saw Sun top and any amount of people towards the bottom half of the map, they engaged the fight, got using to rotate in faster than Sun was going to be able to possibly get there, and they open up an opportunity. Blade of Eternity built
They're
up.
trying. They're trying to take this
I mean,
down.
they can take this. They can take this.
Oh, that was close.
There's opportunity there. They get a major objective. That's good for them. They need to find more kind of on the run team fights like that and open up some more opportunities. But Sun is going to start to really be a problem because now he's got 2 health. Oh,
Neil's doing stuff. He's starting to hit some damage.
Okay.
This is
I can accept it. This is a good tipping point for J-Team. They found 1 major kill. If they can find a second, they'll be in a good spot. Benny into the back line.
Pew
went way too far forward, but he just destroys Rush. Perfectly gets him with that Fenrir's Tooth. That damage just absolutely explodes. Sun is
Star
now
killed
here.
him. Star killed Pew.
Star killed Pew. Oh no, yeah, Star killed Pew. I was still thinking about Rush, and now Sun is gonna get stunned up.
Reggie shot. He has a Blade of Eternity. He's going to come back up. Flickers
back.
away. Wow. Okay, what's happening? They can actually potentially end here if HQ doesn't play this right. They're going to back off, but oh my goodness. So not only has Neil started to climb in damage, but so too has Wins. As we take a look at her build here, it goes for the Clavasanti, like you mentioned, and the Muramuscle. She's going to be chunking people pretty hard. The Chaos Protection has to come out for just J-Jock's self. And the Dark Slayer is coming up, and I don't even know what happened. We were just talking about how AHQ has a firm grip on this game, and now it's tied-ish, right? Like J-Team has a bottom tower. The gold is even. Yeah, they only have 3 high ground towers, but you could say it's kind of close as far as towers are concerned. So, what is going on? Is it a tie game right here?
I mean, a full team wipe that got capitalized on. They were able to get all of their members there. Some went off to go split push wave, so he wasn't there to defend on the Abyssal Dragon. You put an Abyssal Dragon in their hand. Neil is able to dive with impunity because once a squishy is at half health, they're basically dead to him. Wasn't anybody who was ready to protect Rush. Pew was already under a little bit of pressure. Not all the members of the team were there. Now we do see AHQ looking for their opportunity. Shock is going to go in. It is going to slow down Star. They'll be able to get the shield slow out. That's actually a massive slow as they both get stunned up next to the wall, or at least stopped from being able to get out of there. Now the turn is on to Benny, but Sun doesn't want to commit. They're looking for using into the backline. Chaos Protection, a little bit of damage. They get some more slows on him. Sun's going to pull him back in, but doesn't.
Oh my goodness!
Rush
Neil.
into the backline. He's going to be coming back, but Neil, he's used up all of his resources, and this may actually start to be a problem as Rush is being perfectly protected. No, Benny survives. There isn't enough extra defense for them, and AHQ is going to go down. Not yet. It is now.
Death timer is at 30 seconds. Yeah, that's it. That's game. Wow. That ended in a hurry, and Neil saved it for them. Getting on those damage dealers, it doesn't matter if he dies, as long as he takes them down. The rest of AHQ does not have enough damage to pull it off. And J-Team with a ridiculous comeback. Making it happen.
That was unexpected. And I guess what we saw there was...
It was just the power spikes. It was right when they hit those power spikes, when they got the Fenrir's Tooth, I was like, that's the one thing that they can hold their hats on, or whatever their phrase is. And hang their hats on, that's the one. Is that if they can get a pick with Neil, then they can turn things around. And at the time, it seemed like grasping for straws because that was the only thing. But they did it time and again. They were able to take out Rush on the Slims, and then the damage evaporated. All they had were, cleaves from Malak. Chungner doesn't do much damage if he's playing support. Omen is more of a dueler. He can't really do a whole lot except for maybe lock someone out of the fight. and all the damage was gone. Crixie can't really do much by herself if her Moonfall, is done. The mischief only comes out once in a while, so great strategy there from J Team and great comeback.
I think a lot of that I would attribute to just proper understanding of how aggressive they could be. Because after you get that team wipe and you get that you get the Abyssal Dragon, the download to Pew was the first questionable thing they do. Because if Pew doesn't oblige them with a team fight, or at least oblige them by staying far forward with the wave, Rush isn't able to dive the backline with impunity, and there's more people there to kill him. Or Neil is not able to dive Rush with impunity. There's more people to kill him. He possibly saves Rush, and now they've overcommitted into that play. So first Pew gives them the opportunity. J-Team recognized they could be that aggressive and could do what they wanted, and they could dive because they saw Sun towards the top. So 2 times in a row, when Sun wasn't with the team, J-Team recognized that that was their opportunity, and that's the impressive part, is they understood exactly when they could fight, and when they had, like, combined with the power spikes you were mentioning, they understood, okay, this is actually a window.
The interesting thing was, like you mentioned, as P went in, they were either getting funneled into the jungle, or if they tried to spread out more, it gave Crickneck more opportunity to come in from the back. So it's either way, like a marksman jungler, or a marksman in general, doesn't really feel comfortable getting into tight spaces because he can get jumped on from any direction. And so he backed off a little bit, and that actually gave more space for the Crickneck to come in from the back.
Again, this is what I like about bringing in the assassin junglers and the changes to.
Well, you also just saw how the Soul Reaver nerf played a big part there, because it took him so long to
get going. It hurt. He couldn't do anything for the first few minutes, and then he gets his rake breaker. He has to go into the Fenrir's. If they don't have that team fight where he gets 2-3 kills, that Fenrir's is still going to be another 2-3 minutes. Do they end up getting that Abyssal Dragon? Do they end up being able to make that play bottom? The Soul Reaver nerf, that is terrifying in terms of how slow roll a Crickneck was in the early game.
Well, I think it's kind of specifically targeting Crickneck too. Not that I don't know if it was intentional, but it just does, because his damage scales with additional attack damage, not his base attack damage. And the Soul Reaver actually does that initial magic damage. Actually, no. Soul Reaver actually would be okay for Crickneck. I think he should have maybe built Soul Reaver, because if you use an ability for 3 seconds afterward, I think, if I remember my own patch notes correctly, it goes up 10%.
Let me take a look. I've got it. I was reading it earlier. I mean, more to my point is that I think the Soul Reaver nerf, we saw him be afraid of it, whether or not it was necessarily the right choice.
I think I'd rather.
And he thought he needed the Leviathan, and that's the effective thing. It's like that nerf was enough to make him think he should go Leviathan.
Yeah, I think they're overestimating it though, because if you look at the passive, once you hit someone with an ability or attack, you actually gain 7% more attack damage for 3 seconds, which counts as additional attack damage for a Crickneck. So I think it's actually fine for him. And maybe build instead of, if you're afraid of getting killed.
Maybe you're right. Soul Reaver actually looks really nasty in the early game, now that I'm thinking about how the magic damage is being applied, because again, this is similar to the situation with Scorching Wind. Because characters on average are going to have, actually this is similar to the way you guys actually described the Talanis buff. I think it was somewhere in the patch note, or the Talanis change, to the point where people tend to have less magic resist than they do, or magic defense than they do armor. This is one of those things where you might just pop somebody with that extra early game magic damage to a pretty, that's kind of scary. Magic damage is, at least based on the math that I've done, and you can correct me if I'm off here, but magic, because of the number of magic defense sources in the game, combined with the scaling of magic defense per characters, magic damage has a mathematically higher value in the first 10 minutes of the game, because you just don't have a lot of ways to build defense for it.
The counter to that is that most people build Gilded Greaves.
No, but even with Gilded Greaves, because if you're say a mage, I guess it's more. I guess this is more of an Arcana debate, and we don't really need to get into it now. Anyways, I actually want to see what happens when a Cricknack goes Soul Reaver.
Yeah, well,
Like, I'd like to see that.
any assassin jungler really, because you get in there, you do that instant. What would that be? 380 magic damage once you get to level 4, which is the first time you end up fighting anyway. So,
Yeah, about.
or actually, Soul Reaver takes a little bit longer than that, so you'd be probably level 6 or so, and then so that would be 420.
Yeah, you can't finish Soul Reaver on first clear, so it would be. Yeah, it'd be close to level 6. 420 magic damage. The reason I specifically want to think about Cricknack is because of the like drone drop dive into auto attack into bite into auto attack. Like that kind of progression of how you play Cricknack allows for you to get in extra damage in that 3%. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Or that 3 seconds of bonus 7%. Like I'm thinking just kind of how you engage with the Cricknack. It's like ability into auto into ability into auto. Like he very much plays on that. And I mean, 30-second cooldown on that effect. That might be a little bit harsh.
30 seconds is fine. If you kill someone, they're gone for like 30 seconds because they have to walk back to the map. But Terrifying Plague, actually, the attack after Terrifying Plague also does magic damage, so that's something to keep in mind. And it does percentage based. So now, if he does build this Soul Reaver, it will be doing both raw and percentage based, which is good. Now, taking a look at these bands, looks like we have the Xenial band, which we didn't see last time, but we can kind of see why, considering a man named Sun on the other side.
Praise the sun.
And once again, we have Marja band, which leads me to believe they're going for Malik again. But I don't like it because I don't think Pew played the Malik very well.
I don't think Pew played the Malik ineffectively. I just feel like Malik couldn't do enough with the composition they had. If you look at the number of lockdowns they only have really one, and that's Omen. Like there isn't enough good teamfight lockdown that I feel like Malik gets his value, because if you run from a Malik and you get away from him, then I guess if you're kiting a Malik, he's losing effectiveness in a lot of ways. And he's not, like the cleave damage isn't coming through. I think people build Malik too hard defense. Unless they're making adaptations in their Arcana, I think that team players overall spend too much time building Malik hard defense because they're like, the cleave is where all of my damage is, and that's true. But like, if you're not cleaving for true damage, that first cleave does nothing, and so you're saying that it's all about the subsequent cleave. And that means that you have to get off 2 cleaves in the time before they get away from you. It's a little presumptuous.
Yeah, it feels like Malik. It feels like Malik can't really be with.
He's too predictable.
Yeah, with two backline heroes, I just don't see, because you go in and shock and they just run away, and there's nothing that your backline heroes can do about it. Raj, don't do this. Not again.
I will see. We'll see.
This is how they lost to Flash Wolves. They played Batman in Game 3 and they lost, and I'm sad. I'm still sad about it.
But again, to the Malik. When I play Malik, there's I don't know if there's a clip of this out there, but I was playing Malik on stream, and literally I just turned into a mindless zombie, just saying cleave every time I use the skill. Just cleave. Well, like, I don't know why I did it, and it's just because you can figure out how to play against him. I feel like teams need to reevaluate where and when they pick Malik. Like, they needed to do it for the Marja, and now I want them to just, like, put it back in the lab for a little bit.
Yeah, I just don't think that, like, to your point, you can't play it with certain lineups. It's not something you just pick first, and any lineup works with this guy. It's like, no, it does not. You can't have 2 backliners like they had last game, because they were winning kind of in spite of Malik, if you think about it, right? They were getting those kills even without him. So
like the Malik was good to a point, but there are other things that might have been able to get the similar job done that would have brought a more dynamic play style to the map.
It's just that shock doesn't do anything because they just run away, and there's nothing to continue to chase them after they run away or punish them for running away. And there's also no reason for anyone to attack him. They just run past him to the backline because all he can really do is cleave. He can't really stop you in your tracks or deal a bunch of damage to you very, very quickly. Like he's a slow burn damage. Even though he chunks you pretty hard with his cleave, it's around a 4-second cooldown with CDR. So all of a sudden it's a slow burn. So if you're trying to run past him, maybe some other more damagey hero like a Marja or Ryoma or Irie. Yeah, something like that. You can't just run past the Irie and expect to just get to the backline.
Ryoma is a threat. Ryoma's a threat to your backline. Irie's a threat to everybody because she's bringing more crowd control. Superman's a threat because he's got the push. Omen's a threat because he can lock down and duel a character. Like the
Malik just doesn't seem to do a lot. But we've been going on and on about Malik, but they haven't picked him, so we're happy at least thus far. They've already have their 2 side laners, so it looks like
don't you dare pick Tara. I have a whole thing about Tara. I have a thing about a lot of characters.
Well, they did buff Tara in the patch.
What did she get?
She now loses 8% health every time she uses an ability, or 8% of her current health. But she gained 6% of her lost health. So she damages herself so she can do more damage in the lane, because that's the other part of her passive, is when the lower health she has, the more damage she does. But when she's very low, she actually heals more per ability, because 80% of very low is not much, and 6% of a lot of lost damage, or lost HP is a lot. So she's better when she's low, she's better when she's high, and she's also more fun. It's also very interesting to be damaging yourself.
I'm gonna need to go back to the drawing board on her, and now that we're seeing her, I'm curious, but that's enough for me to go back to the drawing board. But my issue with Tara, and we'll see whether or not it affects J-Team in this game, this feels like Malik pick last game, because I don't think it's going to be the reason they win. And Tara is best when your opponents want to fight you, very similar to Malik. Tara does her best job when the opponent wants to kill her. She gets you to chase her, she gets you to fight her, but if you ignore her, she does basically nothing. Like if you pretend she doesn't exist, she usually doesn't have the damage output or the threat to be able to really affect things. Now, up against
unless you're Sun at the EWC.
Yeah, unless you're Sun. But that's Sun being Sun and less of Tara being Tara. Sun makes everything look good. So I'm curious to see how J-Team is going to play this. I want to see how Yuzin makes use of this, especially into the fact that Sun is playing Omen again, and Sun was kind of running that lane, and it's really the rest of his team that couldn't keep up.
Yeah, but countering that with Yuzin on the Tara makes sense to me, because all you have to do is just maintain a presence, and with her ultimate, that should be fine. I'm curious to see if Sun will build the Curse of Death to counter that, so he can actually put more pressure onto that lane. We'll see how that works out. Speaking of Curse of Death, or speaking of anti-healing, that's probably what we're going to see from J-Team against J-Jack here on Pyrrha. And again, Pyrrha's nerfed pretty hard. She doesn't heal as much. She heals more when you're higher, but less when you're lower, which is a nerf. And her armor is lessened as well. So we'll see how well they're able to run this, and if they may have overestimated her efficacy after 1 week of a nerf being in play.
I think the nerf to Pyrrha basically says you're not allowed to use her as a you're not allowed to use her as a savior character. You have to use her as part of the team fight. Her value is in her earliest moments in the team fight, keeping you from getting to that super low point, so she gets the highest value out of her healing, getting in there and using her ultimate to be able to affect them, the early stages of the team fight. She's become more of a first punch character than a last hit character. If you kind of catch my drift there, and what I'm kind of getting at, she's there to sucker punch the enemy team, not get the last hit in the middle of the fight.
Right. Well, we'll see how this works for AHQ, considering Pew is now on the Superman rather than the Malok, already taking a lot of damage, so not too confident from at least from my perspective, at least not yet. Neil, nice little tactical fire there. The jungling tactics here, making sure to get every little last ounce of value from your damage, and we'll see what you
Oh,
build.
yo, Benny, why you gotta steal that? Benny just stole experience. That is not cool. Never steal your jungler's experience. Let him get that level 4. Like, no, like, if
Benny
there's a
needs
moment...
to, okay? Benny needs to. Just supports lives matter as well.
No, not that. Like, that's not where you give your support
Benny?
the extra heal, but a lot of damage onto Benny. That was a little bit of an engagement in the bush. They were putting a little bit of pressure onto J-Jock. But
If Benny was one,
I'm
she's
just
dead. I'm just saying. No, she wasn't. She wouldn't. But I'd like to say so. In any case,
nah, you steal that experience from your mid laner. You don't steal it from your jungler. Like, that's not how it works. Like,
well, in any case,
mid lane is there to share.
We've been talking a lot about a lot of nonsense, but let's talk about the fact that we have 2 marksman junglers this time, instead of the what we had before. J-Dog gonna get pulled in, gonna heal right back up though, so that's perfectly fine. But yeah, on the side of J-Team, they pounce on the ability to get the Violet, which means that they don't really have the ability to dive. But Benny getting low here again, pulls, wow, amazing pull. Many members getting extremely low. Rush has to rush right out of there at very, very low health, and that was an amazing jump, amazing pull there. As Sun just casually takes out Yuzon.
Yeah, Sun, praise the Sun. I mean, he got him low, and then Yuzin decided to stay. So that right there, I'll break down the Tara, my Tara concerns. But I just want to note we've got double Soul Reaver with the change. So Rush thinks that the on hit from, I think that Rush is mismathed that one because the Lindis is going to be outputting more individual instances of damage. The
Wait,
Scorching Wind
there's
makes
no way
Rush...
they're on like a tournament server, right? And this is not part of the Taiwanese server?
I don't think so, because we saw Cricknack go Leviathan.
No, but
That looks like an answer to that, but J-Jock is going to just
dead.
die?
No, but people have been going Leviathan Crickneck for a while. I mean, they've been doing that regardless, so.
I don't know. We're seeing the Tara, so like this, a lot of these things are making me think that that's the case. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of any other changes that could give us more clues. But yeah, the Tara damaging herself. We didn't see her actually damage herself. That could have been from Sun. This is also confusing right now.
She was low, and I mean, it was an active dueling with Sun.
Can we measure how fast the Flash is walking? Because his movement speed went from 400 to 380. Get out your calculators and your and your rulers. Any case. Anyway.
Yeah, dude, gonna need to pull out my sextant for that one. Like that's some next level like measurement shenanigans. I mean, they're setting up here towards the mid lane. They're looking for a massive team fight, looking for an opportunity on Benny.
Sun?
Benny's gonna pull in Sun, uses. Oh, Sun
Wow.
is still gonna die. Flickers away, but is gonna get caught. They don't have enough damage there for J-Jock. Pew wasn't in position to make anything happen. Here comes using it into the back line. We're seeing the members of AHQ be absolutely routed, but Benny will fall. Rush manages to get over into a bush. Now he's going to step into another bush. He's going to pick up another kill. He will survive. Nope, does go down, but evened that out in a way that I was not expecting Rush to play.
I think this is a tournament server. Even though you were intently commentating on the fight, I was looking directly at Yuzon, and he wasn't losing any health. So I think this is a tournament server.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to sort that one out, and we'll. I guess I'll try and avoid talking about the jungle items. I guess
I'm like 90% certain because I saw
J-Jock with the stun, setting up a little bit of pressure on the star. Should get out of there. Dark Dominion on to Hawk. J-Jock there to heal him up. I'm not sure why you pop that on a Crixie with no one there to help you kill her.
It also would make sense that they're valuing Pyrrha so high because she was quote unquote broken enough to be able to nerf her.
That's possible.
So yeah, I think
you're right. It isn't because the item change, the visual change for Hunter's Bow hasn't changed yet.
Yeah,
it hasn't changed.
Yeah. Okay, so
this is not tournament server. Ignore all of the tournament server related.
No.
This is tournament server.
Yeah, it's not Taiwan server.
Ignore all of the live statements we've been making about the jungle changes and all that shenanigans. We were woefully uninformed.
We figured it out though. At least it's
Yeah.
consistent with what we know on our own server. So there's that. It does make things more difficult for the players though, because they have to practice a different game unless they're on different servers. In the case, with that behind us, let's get this game continuing. And Benny taking a lot of damage from the Moonfall. Star trying to get some back with that Mach Punch, but does not connect. Jaja going to heal multiple members back up as these players reset, and Rush is going to go right back onto the Abyssal Dragon. Pew doing what he can. Wins obviously going to be in that side lane, going to be a hard player to push around. But looks like AHQ is going to be able to secure this Abyssal Dragon and take a tiny lead.
Yeah, they can start to pressure the camps a bit. Where we're getting Lindis to Lindis levels of farming. J-Jock eats some damage, doesn't get pulled. Benyon from the side. Dark Dominion was used, but that's the pushback from the Superman. J-Jock taking a bunch of damage, will survive a little bit longer. Now Pew under pressure. Out comes the Moonfall. Benny taking a lot of damage. He'll be okay. Now wins in from the side. Gets slowed down, but he's a Chognar. He cares not. Tara rotated in, so that's more opportunity for Sun. He's a level up, so any advantage that can be gained will probably be very much appreciated for Sun. And I mean, Tara's surviving a little bit better than the Superman did in the last matchup.
Slightly. Also, now that we've confirmed that this is on a tournament server, you can go on your Tara rant.
I mean, my Tara rant still holds. It doesn't matter. Like the change to the way that operates on her health, that was just gonna make me decide whether or not she had a little bit more of a place. But Tara still does what Tara does. Tara brings one slow to the table, minimalistic damage. She does her best job when you sit there and try and kill her. She baits you in.
Ooh.
She does damage to you. She keeps you there. He is gonna end up going with that Curse of Death, but that's gonna be all of the lockdown and good. By to Tara, the kill will go over to Rush. That's going to be the tower dropping. Benny, you don't want that. Benny needs to leave. He's going to be seen out, but that's fine. That would have been a terrible 3v1 for a support Mina. She would have been absolutely obliterated.
Moonfall?
Benny is going to get knocked up, gets hit by the Moonfall. A lot of damage there. Does get
one
a good
more!
pull. And will
Cyclone?
get taken down. Huge Cyclone pulls in two. They managed to get 2 kills out of that. Neil is there on the backside. Star goes in, gets another one. Now Sun has shown up. Star doesn't want any of that, and he will back away. But that was a great play from Benny to recover.
Yeah, Benny surviving for like 2 seconds longer on 1 HP there was what allowed them to kill 3, because they overextended and the members of JT got in there, in particular Star with a huge cyclone on the 3 members. So, man, the littlest things, just being able to stay alive for a little bit longer and baiting the team in is what actually got them 3 kills there. Benny's not going to get credit for it, but that was absolutely huge. Pew's trying to do his best, but he's not going to be able to do a whole lot, especially in the face of that tactical fire here from Neil. But, by the way, speaking of the Owen picking up the Curse of Death, I love how you knew exactly what I meant by ooh.
Yeah, it just popped up. Well, no, because it was the right pick. It was perfectly timed with the dive. Now he'll go into the rest of his standard build. He picked up a little bit of defense. He'll get his Fenrir's or his Fafnir's, and that'll give him everything he needs to be able to absolutely destroy using. Sudden a little bit of damage, gets hit by the Dark Dominion, pull back in. Benny is low, but no one willing to commit any further. There's no wave in the mid, so there'll be opportunity for J-Team to back things up a little bit.
Essence of the win used there, though, so...
Yeah, resources have been expended. See whether or not Rush can find an opportunity. They really need to get somebody to step out, especially when they're under tower. The Lindis isn't that good at really dealing with that. And no, I think Curse of Death is undervalued. Even if there isn't a high healing character, that's just all their regen is gone. You just took away all of their regen. You took away the value of their
technically
support's heal.
50%, because that's what it says.
Yeah, it is 50%, but like that's regen that people kind of rely on when they're thinking about how effectively tanky their character is, and I think that gets thoroughly underestimated. Here comes the chase in by Wins. Moonfall out to deter the re-engagement. They do have Pew on the side, but he didn't want to flank that just yet. And this is really the question is going to start to become, how much can Sun bait them? Betty? Question mark?
Yeah, you see
Dr. Minion?
sun,
Question mark?
the gravity of the sun, which I wasn't even trying to go for that pun, but
Ooh, that's another good one.
he just pulls everyone over to his side of the map. As you can see, they all rotate over, try to get that done. Wynn's gonna have to pop his chaos protection in order to just save himself. As you do see the Clavis Song picked up here for the Violet, so lots of damage, and the Hecate's item here for Flash as well. So lots and lots of damage on the side of J Team. Not to mention Tome with the Reaper as well.
Yeah, there's that's also Tome of the Reaper on Chalknar is just perfect. AoE healing reduction, just perfect. There's nothing wrong there.
The funny thing about that is that both Tome of the Reaper and Curse of Death have a thing where it's only 1.5 seconds with abilities, but 3 seconds with attacks, which sounds weird for a magic item. But in any case, that's how it works. Sun's going to go ahead and solo the Darks there. I wonder if J-Team has an inkling of this. Not quite yet. I suppose Benny does.
Sun's just gonna reposition himself for the play.
Flicker
Benny goes
pull.
forward, gets J-Jock. That's gonna be a good combo with the Dark Dominion, but they haven't been able to get
Hawk.
anybody just yet. Cyclone used onto J-Jock. Hawk used a lot of damage there.
Pew
And
gets him
resources,
lots
here
of
come Pew.
damage.
In from the side, knocks Neil back a second time, knocks him back a third time, keeps him in the middle of the fight. Sun comes in, gets wins. Now they have minions. They can easily take down this tower and set in the pressure. And it only took one play for AHQ to start to assert some dominance on this map. And I'm starting to feel that Tara, because she does nothing, using knocked up, using slowed down, takes some additional damage. They've got a Canyon minion here. They'll easily be able to take another tower for this. Sun has cleared out the top lane. He's setting up for a high ground tower push. You've got Pew in the bottom lane. He's got plenty of minions there to back him up. A full court press from the side
Oh my
of
goodness.
AHQ. And Sun, he steps up underneath that tower, pulls in, doesn't end up using the Death's Embrace. Now they're going to put pressure onto this bottom tower. Star goes in, gets out the Cyclone, but it's not going to be enough because Rush hits a bush and gets a burst of speed.
It was enough. They defend the tower.
Yeah, they end up being able to defend.
Yeah, that was just to pull them away from the tower, and there were multiple siege minions under that tower. It was guaranteed to go down if they didn't do something about it. So good play from the start to keep them away from that. And you see J-Team's kind of crumbling under the pressure in certain situations. The Dark Dominion coming out under only minions, but it seems like for both of these teams, the team that engages and doesn't get enough done is the one who loses the fight, because without the Cyclone, without the Dark Dominion, Pew was able to run rampant and kill multiple members. And so look for these teams to try to bait out an unsuccessful engage so that the counter engage can take them all out.
Well, they sent Sun off to go grab basically all of the jungle in the top half of the map. He's now got his double damage dealing combo. Like he'll build into a Blade of Eternity, but he's basically hit, his most terrifying state. He's a little bit squishier than normal, but Yuzin doesn't want that fight. Yuzin will just straight die if he decides to pick that.
Well, he's there for the minion pickup, which allows AHQ to get on top of this Abyssal Dragon. I wonder if J-Team is going to be able to do something about this. Pew playing Guardian, going to take a bit of a Dark Dominion in the corner of your screen there, but he's perfectly fine. I believe that Essence of the Windshield had to be expended there, but pretty much worth it because now you pick up the Abyssal Dragon and that good old Dark Blessing on Rush, so you can be all the more aggressive.
Looking at the items.
Oh, Bush Party. Double Bush Party.
Yeah,
J-Jock sniffs it out. Alright, well, we'll see what they can get done. This isn't exactly the Dark Slayer buff. They don't have the Drake, but they could possibly make a push on the tower, especially this particular tower, which is very, very low. Rush could probably just run in there, as long as they have some sort of minion still surviving. Speaking of which, there's a bit of a duel here between Sun and Yuzon. I believe that Death's Embrace was already used there, so not going to go down. And they're continuing to push into these towers. They just need something to survive on this bottom lane so that Rush can rush in there and just burn it down with the Dark Blessing at his back to keep him alive. But J-Team doing a great job defending, continuing to just clear out the minion waves as necessary. Sun's the only one, along with Pew, on the map visible. The rest is in this little bush party. But I feel like they're just losing their opportunity. 12 seconds left on the buff, and it looks like they're instead going to make their way toward the Dark Slayer.
Yeah, they haven't been able to breach the high ground safely. They're afraid of what Benny can do to them. and setting up for a little bit of an ambush in the jungle. Maybe make them think they're on the Dark Slayer, find somebody, kill at least one target, and then reset themselves. We are starting to see a little bit more damage coming out for this Chognar. So Chognar is starting to become a little bit of a problem. If they're not careful, J-Team is poised to be able to bring themselves back into this game. Yeah, the Mina's behind. Yeah, the Tara still needs a little bit more to be able to get the job done. But it does look like the members of J-Team aren't confident stepping out. And that's going to be free Dark Slayer and at least one, maybe two high ground towers.
They are burning it down. Looks like there's no way for J-Team to get there. And here it comes, one last little mischief. I'm going to take that one out. So, this should be a little bit easier for the members of AHQ to take down one of these towers at the very least. Rush is rushing around his own jungle at the moment. Wow, I just realized he's not even at 10k gold, even though we're around 12,000 for both Omen and Superman, both of them picking up that oh-so-important Blade of Eternity. So yeah, Rush, this seems weird, but he needs more items, strangely enough. And once he gets them, they're going to be making that siege onto these towers.
I think we're definitely starting to see the marksman junglers falling behind because they're not getting those oppressive kills that we're used to them getting. Like we've seen the marksman junglers get repeatedly nerfed. So they're not getting those kills. So they're spending all this time sitting in the jungle. Like the amount of time we see Rush sitting in the jungle while Sun is clearing waves, although he's going to get hit with the Dark Dominion. Full team combo is there. Daedrock is going to come in, heals him up. Now Benny in a lot of trouble to step forward. Does he actually use the Death's Embrace on using him? Pulls him back in, and still he's holding it. Hasn't committed that.
Wasn't even close. None of the members were even close. They're finally going to release a Drake here to try to get something done, but they've really botched this. I feel like AHQ has just not able to take advantage fully. They're finally going to try to push onto here. Sun taking a little bit of damage. JT holding strong at the moment. Have to clean up this mid wave though that has been pushed in by Pew, but in comes the Dark Dominion. Multiple members getting extremely low. In comes the Cyclone as well. J-Rock is caught into that, but back Stargo is going to go, and Wins is the first to fall, but so is Pew, but he's going to be right back up. Sun's going to fall. I believe he has the Blade of Eternity as well. Going to be back up here. Can he stay alive? The Untouchable, and gets the Essence of the Wind and the Flicker to keep himself alive, but that is a great defense by J-Team. Only one member falls and 0 towers.
They needed to commit to that a little bit harder. They were too afraid of the members of AHQ to they didn't secure anything off of that. They end up giving up, it ends up just being Wins that dies. They'll take that on the side of J-Team. They're getting towards the end of those builds. They're getting towards those final items. And I mean, soon we're going to see Neil probably sell his Rank Breaker, get his Blade of Eternity. He's at full build as far as a jungle Violet goes. Mina's starting to get tanky enough. I'm looking at the Chognar.
Finally, he gets some tankiness, right? Chognar has like HP and armor, but yeah, now he's finally going to get.
I don't mind him doing what he was doing.
Pew?
Oh, Pew is caught. He's going to get Dark Dominion. Neil is there as well. He's going to push him up into the wall, looking to get some additional damage. J-Jock is going to keep him alive for just a little bit longer, but Neil needs to get out of there as Hawk shows up. They will kill one. They should get a second. He'll be finished off. Rush under a little bit of pressure, but is going to start to look at Star. Looks at him, crits him, finishes him, and another Dark Dominion is used. Meanwhile, at the Legion of Doom, Sun is just destroying everything he's putting pressure on to use on. He's going to be able to get themselves a high ground tower. They finally break the base on the side of AHQ, and it crumbles a bit because both of those damage dealers are down. It's going to need a Rush defense. Dark Dominion, but he didn't manage to get far enough away to actually pull Rush any further forward. Yuzan takes a bunch of damage. Healing has been reduced. He gets very, very low. Does need to back up. There isn't a minion wave in mid for the side of AHQ.
They could probably still take it, though. They could probably still take this tower.
Rush is considering it. J-Jock is going to heal them back up. Benny looking for an opportunity. His Dark Dominions have been good, but he wasted one before. He has a backup again, so looking for an opportunity. The members of AHQ will bide their time. They'll slow it down. They don't want to blow their chance to win the game.
Indecision really cost them there. They were starting to push onto the core, but a hook onto Sun and a Dark Dominion. He flickers out, barely stays alive, but will he? Because Wins is on the chase. J-Jog might pay for his life by trying to save him, but he doesn't either. And Lind is going to provide the slows to keep him alive, and somehow they all survive. Pew might be in trouble himself, but he's Superman, so he's perfectly fine as it seems. And oh my goodness, that could have been terrible, but it might still be terrible as they are getting around this Abyssal Dragon. That could be huge for them. They're coming back, speaking of the members of AHQ, but Tara isn't in the vicinity. It's going to be taken by J-Team. They have that team-wide buff. Pew's going in, though, trying to get onto Neil. Pew's taking a lot of damage. He does have the Blade Turn. He's going to be right back up in a moment there. Neil's trying to get the damage right when he comes out. But this is 5 men of AHQ trying to push onto them. Wins extremely low. Neil takes a ton of damage. Heals coming in for J-Dot to try to keep himself alive. Try to make sure he doesn't get burst down by Neil. But Neil is the one who's going to get down first. And this is a 5v3 with no Benny and no Neil. And this might be extremely difficult for them to hold. I gotta ask, do they go for the Dark Slayer or do they try to just finish the game right now? It feels like this is their window. I'd rather be 5v3 than have a Drake on my side. And it looks like they agree. They're going to be pushing down mid here. Big Moonfall, lots of damage coming on the wind. He's going to take a lot of damage, but in comes the Cyclone. Rush might die, but he has that Dark Blessing. It's perfectly fine for him to take the damage here. Star messing up with his targeting. They're finally going to get this mid-ground tower. Are they going to prioritize the bottom? That would put a stranglehold onto this game. Or are they going to go onto the core? Jedra going in with a Nature's Rally. Pops the edges into the windshield. Multiple members going down. Yuzon getting low, but he's a tar, so he's perfectly fine. J-Jock barely staying alive. Hawk trying to get his damage in. But Hawk is the first one to... Or excuse me, J-Jock's the first one to go down. But in the midst of all of that, they finally get the bottom tower. And that is all 9 towers gone. In come the Super Duper minions. And finally, HQ can sigh a little bit because they have huge map pressure now.
Very true. And Sun's looking for the end game play. I like it. He's gonna get matched up by using, and I mean, J-Team, they need to do what they're doing right now. They need to push. They need to find an opportunity. There were a couple of things that got a little weird in the middle of that fight, and just how HQ positioned themselves for that. Sun is going to lock down Yuzan. Doesn't actually want to continue to fight this. Yuzan heals himself up a lot.
He was going for the SMG Liang play, where he goes for the back door by Des embracing the only person trying to defend it. But unfortunately, there weren't any Supermen on the other side. But that gave HQ enough time to bring down this Dark Slayer. And with Super Duper minions, which we like to call them. I forgot, I think Suijay actually had the name for them on one of the casts, but lots of super minions coming down the court. Those freaking massive ones in the middle are as big as the heroes themselves. And we have a Drake on the way here, so HQ. This looks like they can do it, but they bungled it so far. Let's see if they can finally pull it off.
We'll see. I mean, item damage-wise, I do... okay, I agree with what Violet is doing.
Oh, Yuzan gets caught up.
For the most part, is going to get found by Rush. Yuzan should be able to run away.
No, but Death's Embrace.
Not going to catch him?
Well, he doesn't have it yet.
He used it. He just used it. He used the dash forward and didn't get it. It didn't connect.
Sun with an uncharacteristic mistake. They're not catching it. And this isn't the new version, so the Drake can be used whenever you want. It doesn't go away. In the new version, guys, you have to use it before you die. So, pro tip out there. Don't die with the Drake. In any case, still the pressure is on. As long as HQ finds a good fight, they should be okay. Whereas J-Team needs to find something like this.
They found Sun!
Now they need to go straight back to base, though, to try to hold on to this. Can they hold on? Speaking of J-Team, he's keeping him busy, but he's going to give his life for it. And that is so many super minions. Oh my goodness. A march of death. And Sun calmly takes off his headset, says, well, that was easy.
I mean, I would not use the term easy with how that game just got played. But
everything Sun does is easy. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that was better. That was significantly better for the side of AHQ in terms of the way they played that out. I'd say that J-Team shouldn't have picked Tara. I don't really feel like she did a whole lot. I feel like Sun just got to do his thing.
It's Sun's gravity once more, just forcing people to make strange decisions, forcing people into picks like Tara just so they don't get completely pushed in.
No. Gravity is predictable. Gravity is predictable. What Sun is Sun is actually a charismatic cult leader. He makes you do things you never would have done before.
Like Pictara.
Exactly. The Church of Sun corrupts all.
Wind with a surprising 32% damage there. But the king here is Rush.
Padded stats.
Yeah, just a lot of chip damage. But Rush able to get that 133,000 in the end. Or excuse me, 32. Huh? I don't even know. Anyway, he had the most damage. So, AHQ ties it up. And by the way, that's the first game taken off of J-Team outside of SMG.
That's true. This series is a little bit closer than I thought it would be.
Who do you think would win?
Just I thought J-Team would 2-0.
But they just lost to SMG.
Yeah, but I still thought I thought they would be. I thought their play would be clean enough to 2-0.
This is the world champions we're talking about. Come on.
Just literally based on what both teams are playing, based on how they've been playing overall. Because AHQ dropped some games I wouldn't have expected them to drop either. Like,
my faith is with the world champions.
AHQ losing to Flash Wolves, that's fine, but AHQ lost to ONE.
They did weird things there. They had strange drafts.
So like both SMG and J Team have been losing weird games, and I figured after like a little bit of time to reset, we would see J Team be a little bit more dominant. That's why I was expecting the 2-0.
It's the world champions. Who's the dominant ones?
Literally,
do you not remember the 3-0 at the AWC?
No, I do. But J Team has been playing better for most of the season. And AHQ threw the series back to ONE.
Let me know when J-Team are the world champions.
You're missing my point.
No, let me know. I'm being one of those insufferable sports fans on YouTube. Let me know when J-Team are the world champions, then we can talk.
I mean, let me know when J-Team loses to ONE. Like, because of the way that series went with AHQ,
okay.
it was because it was a game 1 to game 2 draft adaptation issue. AHQ actively just threw 2 drafts in a row.
They're just coasting. They only care about the playoffs. It's fine.
Okay. I mean, that was Star had some pretty sick plays.
Pew made some stuff happen though in this game.
Yeah, Pew. This looks like a better Pew because again on the Malik. Especially if Pew's doing shot calling. And I don't think Pew's a sub anymore. I think Pew is probably the starter now. Because Pew showed up in the series last week. Pew pretty much showed up in that game to just kind of take control and just disrupt a lot of those plays. You could say that Sun, did a bunch of good work, but a lot of that was just on how long Pew managed to bait people and keep them around.
Feels bad for Chaser.
Yeah. But I mean that happens. Like if somebody can't come in and take the spot, we don't know that for sure. But I mean, if I'm AHQ, I've put a lot more. Like Pew has shown solid results. If they win this series against J Team, they bring themselves up to what would that put them at? That would still keep them in 3rd place, but it would put them on the heels of J Team and Flash Wolves. I'm keeping Pew in the game, especially with what the rest of their schedule looks like. They play Monster Shield, easier win. I don't want to say straight easy. They play one team again, a team they need to kind of redeem themselves against and kind of clean up that drafting. They play SMG. That should be an easy win. Hong Kong Attitude, a pretty even matchup. And then they finish with Flash Wolves. They have a pretty solid run to build themselves up to take number 1 at the end of the regular season.
Yeah, and I believe they can do it. Especially because Flash Wolves, they're a bit one-dimensional as far as they're just really good at taking team fights, but can be shaky around the edges. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. By the way, if we ever cast on one of these stages, who's going to have purple hair and who's going to have white hair? That is
between you and me.
Yeah, because look at the Taiwanese casters.
Well, I mean, I'm definitely digging her purple hair. I saw the start of the stream, but I didn't want to say anything. But like, I dig her purple hair. I mean, I have no hair, so
then just
we can get me a wig.
We should get wigs. Absolutely.
Get a wig. Yeah, no. I have no hair. I'm bald.
Yeah, I like to pretend I have hair, but then it's just yeah.
See, I got to that in like, want to say it was sophomore year of college. I started getting a receding hairline, and my dad gave me crap about it once, and I said nope, and just started shaving my head.
Is your dad bald?
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. Mine was
It-
a surprise because none of my family is balding. It came from like my mom's dad's side. Like what the hell is that?
that one random recessive gene that comes to get you.
Yeah, I was just like,
No,
what is
no,
happening?
my dad was bald. He's been bald since he was 16 years old, and he looked at me and was like, "My genes got you." Like he was really enjoying it too. Like he was like just enjoying it from a very trolly perspective, and so I
My
was like, "All right, nope."
my older brother makes fun of me for balding. My older brother. Like, come on, what is this?
I mean, if there are people, a lot of people in esports had never seen me with hair because I'd already started shaving my head when I got into esports.
A lot of bald people in esports. There's like Kaldor.
Yeah, there's a lot of us.
There's my one of the guys who co-cast with me one time, who's just getting into esports in Iberia. I think that's Admirable is usually bald on the Hearthstone scene. Trying to go more, but
I mean,
yeah.
you got Calder, one of my co-casters from Here to the Dorm, who's been absolutely killing it, getting opportunities through HEC. Haloran, he's bald too.
We just need to attack people with razors until they're all bald. That's what we need to do.
Nah. You need the dynamic.
No, we need
I mean,
everything to be equal.
yeah, no.
Or one of us gets a purple wig. That's the other.
Yeah, we would need to find me a wig, or just accept the fact that we're just not as cool as the Taiwanese casters.
I think that's the way to go. It's just unfortunate. I really don't know what the delay is. I assume that. I don't think they're talking about Arena Valor either.
I mean, they might be. They could easily be talking.
They're like Crixia. No. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway. Well, while we're here, since we have nothing else to talk about, let's talk about the patch. What do you think?
Ooh. Let me see. Let me scroll.
Okay, I want to talk about the things that I'm surprised that they did. For instance, the massive buff to Lubu. Like, what is that?
I mean, it's a Chinese game, and Lubu's not a god. I'm never surprised. I'm never surprised at a Chinese-based character getting a buff in a game owned by Tencent ever.
If you guys don't know, so every ability, every time you cast an ability, he gets 10% attack speed, maximum 50%, or maximum 5 stacks. And if you guys don't know, his first ability you can cast 3 times in a row. So, boom, 30% attack speed, easy. It's like,
yeah, I'm not sure. So here's the thing is I need to look at an item build that makes sense for applying this, and the one that comes to mind again is Spear, because of the multiple instances, because you can get all 5 instance stacks in early game with just a pure combo, like literally 250 armor shred, just we're there. It just is like within 2 seconds.
they have
Build that, then double tank, and like that's a little terrifying because just the sheer amount of attack speed you're going to be getting, you're going to constantly be applying that. But I worry about how, I mean, with the extra lifesteal on the ultimate, it bears thinking about. Lubu is an interesting addition.
Also, the last one we'll mention before we get into this draft is Arthur with 88 armor at level 1. 88 bonus armor. 88 bonus armor, I should say.
I mean,
like what? Hello?
I mean, yeah, that's just.
Every time he spawns, I used to be in Arthur main when the game started because I didn't, someone has to play tank, right? And back then I didn't know any better, so I just played him as a tank. But it's just, I love whenever you take the Dark Slayer and he switches from his normal standard lines to being really dark all of a sudden and going, "For the new dawn." I'm like, whoa, Arthur, what is that? Nowadays he does it when you actually get kills and buffs, but it just threw me off so much. So, long story short, what I want to have happen when he spawns with the 88 bonus armor, just like right off the bat, "For the new dawn," and then set the stage.
I mean, I'm still back on that armor. I hadn't seen that. That hadn't registered for me. I'm literally thinking about how to build him now, and I would just straight go Gilded Greaves. Like, screw items. Build Gilded Greaves first, because I'm a goddamn god of a tank at level 1. Build my boots, get that move speed, get that extra magic defense literally at the start of the game. And, like, do I even build Mantle of Ra anymore? Do I just go some stupid damage item? Like, I don't need armor till 10 minutes. I'm gonna be stacking armor just by leveling to an insane degree. Like,
well,
oh, God,
okay.
88!
Okay,
that means at level 1. I gotta, that's...
It actually might be 96. Because +8 per level.
Because the +8 per level. Oh my god. 96 armor at level 1.
Plus
so,
armor. So yeah.
Arthur, by being in the game, counters out the highest effective armor penetration build in Arcana, which is full reds, full greens, coming out to 100 armor penetration, which usually gives you an advantage to even out with tanks at the very start of the game and not let them be completely oppressive. He just doesn't give a shit. That's insane.
Yeah, he's gonna be the new Valheim, where people
there's gonna be
no,
you can go back to just straight playing Arthur. Like, there is going to be a Gilded Greaves Hercules Madness build for him. Just do that and you will die to nothing at the start of the game. You will have the perfect balance of armor and magic defense. You will look in the optic stems of the mid laner and just say die. And they will die. You will kill them. You will dunk them.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Let's get back to this game now. This game, again, is not on the patch that we were mentioning, even though the patch is live on Taiwan and has been for about a week. Sorry, mosquito. Anyway, so... similar bans as to last time, with the notable addition of Omen. Looks like J-Team has finally figured out that they need to deal with that. And AHQ started off with Superman, which worked very, very well for Pew last game, so certainly I can't agree with that one. Meanwhile, the Liliana picked up here from J-Team. They've either had Liliana or banned her out, so interesting that they're able to take that. They also have the Xenial, which is another favorite of Sun. So that takes them out from them as well. They're looking at the Pyrrha. And I'm actually curious as to why Hawk consistently picks up the Crixie. It seems like it's reasonable in the early game, but not working the greatest for them towards the end game. But it's reasonable, I suppose.
It's safe. Crixie is neither bad nor good. Crixie is rarely a detriment to your team. She's also not really your highest playmaker. She is just a solid source of both burst damage and crowd control. So I don't hate the Crixie. Especially with Raz being banned, you've kind of taken a couple of options off there. Liliana is no longer on the table. It's a very non-committal pick, which lets them adapt fairly well. So I don't blame them for doing it.
I want to see a Chognar here to prevent the counter from coming on the other team.
Yeah.
Because Chognar perfectly fits J-Team's lineup right now as well. As one of these side laners.
Kilgroth? The aggressive Chognar?
That's got to be Sun, right? Because Pew, I would imagine, is going to be on the Superman once more.
Yeah, you put him back on the playmaker. You put Sun on the stalwart solo lane push master, sit there, auto attack, get fed, outplay people. And to be honest,
I guess they feel like Chognar. Sun played a lot of Chognar at the AWC, but that was just to take advantage of the fact that people paid him a lot of attention and he'd be able to run away. But they probably feel like he doesn't pressure enough with the Chognar, and they need someone to pressure the side lane.
The Kilgroth is going to get you roughly the same result. The Kilgroth is going to get you the same result as an Omen. It is going to push, it is going to pressure, it is going to draw resources, it is going to be scary. If you leave it alone, it's a problem. So it continues to play into the power that is Sun. Sun, as a player, makes you need to pay attention to him. Kilgroth, if left alone, makes you need to pay attention to him. And when Sun is on those characters, he's doing his best job. He's being his best Sun. Living his best life.
Absolutely. Well, J-Team is hovering this Malik, which wouldn't be an issue here. We had an issue with him first game because there wasn't enough damage in the dive. There was too much in the poke, which meant that once he used the shock to go in, there wasn't enough follow-up. But in this sort of situation, once Wins dives in with the shock, there is adequate disarray and confusion among the opposing team where Cricknet can go ahead and clean them up, not to mention Liliana getting massive damage and running around that Fox farm potentially as well. So this will be a lot more useful on the lineup on the side of J-Team. And I'm having a hard time choosing between the two, honestly. These are both pretty solid. It should be mentioned that AHQ gets Mina for the first time. It's been on J-Team the entire series. So they switch supports here. Let's see how this works out.
I think I like AHQ's composition a little bit more because the number of answers to the crowd control between the Mina and the Superman is don't get caught. Don't get caught and properly kite. And you're basically saying Sun's not going to catch us, and that's a dangerous proposition or a dangerous situation to put yourself in where you're relying on your ability to straight out play your opponent. And as far as the order of operations goes, it should, it's we want our opponents to make
Sorry.
In terms of risk reward assessment, the order of operations generally goes forcing my opponent to make plays, or to forcing my opponent to make mistakes based on my composition, forcing them to make mistakes based on my ability to outplay them, and then, hoping they make a mistake. Like, that's kind of what I think they're looking for on the side of J-Team a little bit more, just because of how well Pew played in that previous game. That like, the Superman flanks were good. That's a fear for me when I'm on the side, looking from the side of J-Team. But we'll see how they manage to do it. Neil is back on the Cricknack. That can be serious pressure. If he's putting a lot of damage onto Rush and Hawk, J-Team has plenty of opportunity to kill him.
Well, speaking of Rush and J-Jock in this instance, they're going to go ahead and try to steal out this Might Golem, and they are successful. And not only that, you see Neil rotating over, none the wiser about that. Meanwhile, Star taking a lot of damage. Yeah, so Neil is going to be sad when he finds out there's no red buff there. Malik on Wins, or Wins and Malik as it were, is going to see what's going on. And he's just going to pick up his own Might Golem because that's a guaranteed advantage. And there's really nothing that
I think they might have been able to catch. They could have caught Wins.
Well, they could have caught Wind. Anyway, if they had chased that, though, then perhaps the rest of J-Team can rotate over and they can contest the Might Golem. So I think I'm okay with this. And the fact that Neil is still not at level 4 is problematic for him. Goes with the damage on his first ability. I'm forgetting the name right now. But pulls in by Neil, and he doesn't have that drone drop, which means he's taking a ton of damage. Has to shift out of there with his dash. And J-Doc going to go ahead and recall back, and we'll see what happens with his Abyssal Dragon, which is coming up in 5 seconds.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to be able to do anything about that. I think AHQ is going to yield this. Lindis is rotating in. Superman is there.
They're coming in.
He's thinking about it. He's going to go forward, pushes away, wins. Neil goes forward, manages to get it. Shock is going to be used to get out. The members of J-Team will take that victory and retreat.
Well, It was kind of half worth it there for AHQ because now they can potentially pressure some of this and not have to worry about the shot coming in. Sun, realizing that as well, is going to go in. He does have that punish potentially to take it, and they are going to... Where they will steal it? Big Shining Light comes in. They will
Nope,
not.
went on to Benny.
Benny with the steal. That's my might buff. Give me those auto attacks. So J-Jack picks up Hermes Select to go along with his Windstone, which means he's going to be a sprint star, a track star, going to be sprinting around the field trying to get those hooks in.
Mina, vroom vroom, I'm a race car.
Exactly.
Veep, 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 I'm a Jeep.
You've gone too far there. Alright, well, all that said, these teams are pretty much even. 200 gold is not going to make a huge difference. Perhaps an experience advantage though.
Oh, puke on start.
Wow. It gets in there, but he's going to be okay because that's a Liliana and she can turn into a fox and run away. That's the nice thing about her. Sun's taking a lot of damage from Neil, but he's going to be okay because Neil doesn't quite have the damage yet. Yu's in a lot of trouble. Can they get the stun? They actually get... Wait, why did that go off twice? That was weird.
They pulled him.
Right, but he didn't he pop the Angelic Splendor twice? That's not possible, is it?
No, I think that was just an... I mean, that might have been a visual bug, but no, he popped Angelic Splendor once and then got pulled.
Well, and anyway, they get that kill. The first blood, which is actually worth more, if you guys didn't know. I think it's about 100 gold more. So that's going to be working in AHQ's favor, especially because this Abyssal Dragon's coming up right about now. And they're going to go ahead and try to take this Sage Golem as well. Neil, not going to make any move on it.
Yeah, now, I mean, this can be a pretty big advantage for AHQ because we still know that depending on how good they are when it comes to timings, we know that Angelic Splendor is down. As long as Sun can draw a bunch of aggro and stay alive, he should be fine, and it is what he does. He gets them to the top half of the map. Rush, I really think he should finish this. It looks like he was about to run off into the mid lane. He was going to be there to zone away the Malik, and Sun continuing to draw more followers to his cause, to preach the gospel that is the Church of Sun, and get the entire team, J-Team, to be top half of the map.
Well, not just that, but they weren't able to steal the buff. They were giving up the Abyssal Dragon, but unable to steal the Sage Golem here on the left side of your map. So all of a sudden, J-Team is getting their own buffs as well, and that's just a free Abyssal for their side.
And this game, we're actually going to get to see Neil use Soul Reaver. It's not buffed Soul Reaver, but it is a difference in the way he played the game the last time. So we'll see more damage out of him, see whether or not he makes some more aggressive plays towards the earlier portion of the game. Because he was pretty timid when he was running the Leviathan. J-Jack in there. They missed the hook onto Benny. Ooh, that right there is just a minor visual issue, and
yeah,
that ends up...
Mina's hook, the only thing in the game that actually has shorter range and that visually shows. Everything else is actually slightly longer. But in any case, they're able to get out of there. Neil is hiding in this bush here. Going to go ahead and use the Terrifying Plague. In comes the Rush, trying to get some damage and getting a lot of damage in. But he's going to go ahead and heal him back up, though. But he's got to run out of there. And Rush looking to make some sort of play onto this tower. The Siege Minions have started to spawn as of 30 seconds ago. Use on taking some damage. Benny's going to be there for that help. Meanwhile, in the bottom of your mini-map, Winds is starting to split the lane, so that's a little bit of pressure on the bottom side if AHQ becomes wise. That looks like they are rotating around to try to meet up with Winds. Can they get it? No. They're going to back off and reconvene in the middle.
I mean, they just need to see him. They just need to know kind of where he is. And Sun draws Neil up there again. The gank attempt goes basically nowhere. And this is just the tale of playing up against Sun. They are gonna...
That was nice.
Oh, that burst.
That was
so well played from J-Team.
Good coordination there. Great coordination. The drone drop combined with the shield explosion there from Yuzon taking him out. But the Dark Dominion looks like it's going to go out here and pull multiple members in. That means it's going to be trading out the Neil. Lives. Yeah, they trade out Neil for the J-Doc there. Rush is going to go down as well, though, as the shot comes in here. Pew trying to get some more done, but I don't think Yuzon's a very easy target. Neither is Benny, as they're trying to hold on the side of AHQ. So 2 for 1 in the end there for J-Team, and they all but even up the gold score.
No. That ends up being a 2 for 2 because you lose Neil and Star in the middle of that.
Oh, Star went down. I didn't see that Star went down. Interesting.
Yeah, Star got caught up in everything going on. I'm still impressed with how well that top kill was played, like Neil reached into his back pocket, pulled out the graphing calculator, like set that equation, and knew exactly what he was doing. Like that was incredibly good team coordination just between the two of them to know they could make that dive happen.
Especially because those abilities are very easy to coordinate because they both just rely on having it activated, and then you reactivate it after with many seconds time to make that happen. So it's like, okay, pop the first one, okay, go in, pop the second one. And someone was like, "What? Hello?"
Okay. Yeah, someone's just expecting to heal through it. Like I thought he was. I didn't think the damage was going to be that significant. Wins, use the shock, gets pulled back in. Angelic Splendor there to back him up. J-Jock uses the Dark Dominion, but Pew pushes them away, so nothing's going to really be gained there. There are no minions in the top, so Sun's not really finding any value. We're running into Neil in the jungle, so kind of all the wash on both sides. No one really finding an opportunity based on that.
Yeah, and Neil getting a lot more work done with the Soul Reaver, like you mentioned, so much more damage to his side. We'll see if he builds a little bit more defense in the future to make up for it, but for now, it's definitely working to their advantage. And as this game goes longer, it's going to be very difficult for Hawk and Russ to stay alive. Pew's going to be pushing multiple members into the tower, probably going to go down for it. No, he's Superman, he's perfectly fine, doesn't matter. But in comes the Dark Dominion, which means Wind is likely going to go down. Hawk secures that kill as he's not able to shock out of there. In fact, he has to use that cooldown. Use on the meantime is taking lots of damage, gets slowed as well. Use the Malleus out, gets healed at the exact right time. Can they take him down? Use the Angelic Splitter, but on the wrong member. That was definitely a panic move right there. Try to go on anyone he could find on his little wheel, but unfortunately he's going to get taken down at the end. As someone who's played over 150 games of Xenial, I know exactly how that feels. It's like just Angelic Splendor onto someone. Oh no, that's the wrong person. What the heck? Okay, I'm dead.
Yeah, he got caught. No way to get out. That's actually going to probably result in this bottom tower going down. Pew and Rush. No, Rush not going to stay. Not really feeling it. Wants to rotate into mid. Feeling the fight there. I mean, J-Jock has done a really good job of just aggressively finding targets. So I'm definitely impressed with his Mina play after being in the hands of Benny. And we've seen two pretty good Minas so far. Sun takes a bunch of damage. Neil's going to catch him, start full combos, but he'll walk away. And not enough damage to finish off Sun then, but Sun really hasn't gotten far enough into his build. Benny is going to eat the Moonfall, but walks away safely. Rush in the bushes, poking out. And they're going to kind of need to get somebody top at some point to match out that wave, but everything across the board pretty even with the exception of that one tower advantage for HQ.
Right. You mentioned Rush walking away, but P was able to take that by himself. So that's our report for the bottom lane there. It did get taken out, and looks like we have people congregating here for J-Team around the Abyssal, which does open up space for the top. Pew with a massive ultimate into multiple members. Looked like the shock gonna come in, but he cancels that as well. Angelic Splendor as well. Massive hook! Oh my god, the Dark Dominion on multiple members, but they're able to barely survive, and Rush is getting taken down. So too is Hawk as they're on the chase there. That could have been massive, but oh my god, I feel bye-bye Hawk. Oh my goodness, that could have been absolutely huge. Sun, can he take down this tower? No, Yuzon is there right in the nick of time, but oh my goodness, they were inches away from dying and couldn't finish him off, and that meant that there was no front line there anymore. Benny's deliberately taking these shots so that they can take the tower down quicker and not have to worry about the minion wave. Neil taking the bottom too. This is great rotations here from J-Team, getting so much out of that. 4 towers, to their side from that one good team fight, and that is how you capitalize.
They got pretty lucky because it was a 4v5, and that pullback in by J-Jock that almost killed them all. If they'd had a little bit better AoE damage, if Hawk was in a slightly different position, like the opening play from Pew to just keep them busy was pretty good. We are going to see a shock onto Hawk. He will get obliterated. J-Jock is there, Pew as well, and they're just kind of going to have to leave him out to dry. He Dark Dominions to keep them busy, tries to run off into the bush. J-Team says no. J-Team's starting to put on the pressure.
Yeah, speaking of which, Yuzon really just playing the Sun Roll now, pushing his weight around. Neil's getting a lot of damage, but he does have that Dark Blessing, so he's going to be fine. And then Splendor comes out just in case as well. They're going to take it down this final Tier 2 tower, which opens the map for them in a big way. And let's see if they can push down one of these high ground towers. I doubt it, but they're being really aggressive. In comes the shock to space people out, and that is going to be good enough, as Liliana is one of the better mages at taking down towers. Even without the marksman, they're making this work as J-Team, and that just shows how amazing they are as a team at realizing the one disadvantage they have is not having a marksman to take down towers. So they say, we don't want to go back and take the Dark Slayer right now. We need to take this tower now while we have the opportunity, and they take full advantage.
So another major objective going over to the side of J-Team, and they're kind of getting to that range where they can close things out a little bit. Neil is going into his Blade of Eternity a little bit early, not finishing the Muramasa first, but he's got Fenrir's Tooth. He does massive damage, and if I'm the side of AHQ, they need to find a real good way to shut him down, because so far they haven't done a great job of that. They've been a little scattered when it comes to just specifically keeping an eye on where Neil is and getting distracted by Star and getting distracted by Yuzin.
Yeah, Neil, like you mentioned, is very, very close to that Blade of Eternity. Just a couple more monsters to his name, and he will have it, which means that he can just go with even more impunity into that back line. And not feeling very good if I'm Hawk or Rush right now.
Yeah, you are a sitting duck. No, Neil has definitely shown a pretty high level mastery of what you can do with a Crick Knack, to the point where like he's thinking about diving Pew. He is gonna dive Pew, gets some damage, drops him to half health, and he's fine to walk away from that. But that's not something you see that commonly out of most players. We see Benny getting real aggressive on the J-Jock, just trying to draw some resources, pops the ultimate. That's going to stop Hawk from being able to get anything. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, Neil goes a little bit deep, and Rush manages to get that kill, but it is a fight on two fronts. The Drake has been putting some pressure in there. Pew will be able to deal with that, and they defend in both top and bottom. So, HQ, hold on.
Yeah, Neil didn't quite build to Blade of Eternity and jumped in there anyway. A little bit surprised at that. So, a bit of a blunder there from Neil. And AHQ able to take advantage. Now, Crixie has the Arctic Orb, but that's really all she has as far as being able to stay alive in these fights. And Rush might want to build to Blade of Eternity pretty quickly as well. He wants to stay alive. But things are working out for them. They're trying to get back in this game. Benny is extremely tanky, by the way. I was about to mention this earlier, but picked up the Aegis. So lots of defense for Benny. Going to be very hard to take Pyrrha down. So how does AHQ come back? How does J-Team finish out the game? Major objective coming up in 14 seconds. That being the Abyssal Dragon. And will we see both teams contest it? Or will AHQ have to give it up? There's the Blade of Eternity onto Neil, and this will make it so much more difficult for HQ to deal with. By the way, that was funny. You saw Rush's ability proc Benny's passive, and then Rush was slowed out of nowhere in the middle of the map, which is kind of funny. Anyway, sorry.
I'm very much expecting AHQ to go fight for this. I feel like they're gonna think they really need to, and even with the ability for Xenial to rotate in, I think they still show up to this to a degree. Actually, nope, never mind.
Neil's burning it down by himself. Maybe they don't even
Rush
know
left.
that it's being taken.
I think they know. I think they have an idea that that's going on. Rush actively left, and now they're looking for a pinch on the Yuzon. They back up again, so AHQ not really feeling confident they can pick members of J-Team off before they get away.
Yeah, they just don't have the items right now to make anything happen. Sun picks up Muramasa, so that might be a little bit helpful in these fights, but they don't really have the resurrections. They don't have the damage in a lot of situations. They don't have the defense in other situations, so they really need to have what it takes to take a team fight here, and they just don't feel like they have it yet.
They're close though. Like item wise, they're in a good position to get the job done. They just need to make a significant play. Benny pops the ultimate a little bit early. Shock is going to go into the back line.
Moves
looking
forward
for an opportunity.
Wins.
They get a lot of damage on the Winds. He's going to get hit by the Dark Dominion kept there. Here comes the Angelic Splendor that guarantees him the tower. Pew goes forward, puts in some damage. Neil getting very, very low, but Rush, he's going to be the one who falls. Neil manages to survive. Sun is going to get caught out as well. And that is all she wrote, is J-Team will take the 2-1.
Neil just drone dropped and splattered 2 members and stayed alive with the Dark Blessing. And even if he had died, he still had the Blade of Eternity. So he had 3 lives there, and that just let him go in with impunity. Usually you see the bug go splat. It was the opposite. Just completely flattened 2 members at the exact same time. And that was the end of AHQ.
Yeah, good series from J Team. They win it at the end of the day. They didn't 2-0 it, so I don't get full credit for the prediction, but I did think they could take it. So they will maintain themselves maintain their position over the members of AHQ to just keep that 1-2 that 2-man horse race at the top of the standings.
I don't know why, but this is just really funny to me looking at AHQ. They're not talking to each other, but they don't seem particularly depressed. They're just kind of like thinking, just in contemplation about what happened.
Yeah.
The true Korean team. Just
It's like that's
think
not
about what
we
you've
want.
done. Because sometimes, like for instance, when we see like RRQ and the RPL, they just have their heads down and it's like they're just despondent. That wasn't quite the case. They weren't that sad, but they also weren't like talking to each other and just joking around either. It was like, just think about what you've done. Think about what you've done.
They're not upset. They're not upset. They're just disappointed.
Absolutely. Well,
They are disappointed dadding themselves.
speaking of doubting, I doubt the Crixie. I don't know what it was really doing, especially going off
Not
against.
a whole lot.
And once they picked it, it was just an open invitation to go for the Crickneck, and it worked for them both times for J-Team. Even when he built, in our opinion, the wrong jungle item the first game, was still able to bring it out in the end, or pull out the victory.
Yeah, I just at the end of the day, the Crixie didn't. Right now, to me, Crixie is only as good as her team. If the team is in a position of being able to play aggressively, if they can protect the Crixie, if they can give her space to do damage, she does the job. If they can't, she can't turn things around very often for her team.
I'd almost want Natalia more, because they're both pretty immobile anyway. And if the Crickneck jumps Natalia, you can pop your ult and be a little bit more survivable, and also deal damage to other people and potentially just blow up the Crickneck. There's no way for Crixie herself to kill the Crickneck. It's not possible. Natalia might, right? And if you throw out an Arcane Nova in his face when he's jumping at you, you might think twice. So that is unfortunate. I really think that the Crixie's not doing what teams are expecting her to be able to do in some of these games. It feels like a fallback option, but I feel like they need to think of new fallback options.
She's a status quo hero.
Yeah.
She maintains the status quo of whatever you have going on in the game. She does not change the status quo.
Yeah.
She is the actually no, that's the wrong term. I was about to status quo is the right term. I had another one. We'll see if I can come up with it later.
Well, in any case, that is J-Team regaining their form. Star with a ton of damage. Somehow the storyline of the game is usually Neil and killing the backline, but somehow Star always ends up with 30% damage.
That's because Star doesn't die that often. Neil's going in there and doing damage and getting kills and dying. Star doesn't die, so his overall uptime on the map tends to be higher. That I think is the true story of J-Team. Honestly, I think that's the true story of J-Team's numbers overall. Why they're so high up in their numbers is because they don't die as often. They have higher uptime on the map, so that means more likelihood to get kills, assists, gold, damage.
All right. Well, while we're here, I might as well answer a question in chat. Who's a better hero for climbing, Raz or Liliana?
Lily.
Lily. Yeah, probably easier to play.
Easier to play and more versatile kit. Lily can go in and go out much faster and more effectively than Raz.
A pretty standard way to play Liliana if you're not good with her, this will just work anyway, is you just build a lot of damage and you just Shining Light all day. And if they dive you, you dash away. That's the thing about Liliana, is that her kit indirectly allows her to have a lot of damage. it's not that her abilities do that much damage, but because she's so mobile, you can build a ton of damage and be able to get away anyway. Whereas if you build all damage on someone like a Crixie, you're gonna die. So that's why she indirectly has a lot of damage.
And although Raz could just wreck someone, if you screw it up, you are literally in the middle of the enemy team. Like, you went in there to, like, Raz could full combo an entire team if played just right. Like, if the thing lines up, you can two-man just destroy people, but you also had to kind of sacrifice your positioning to do so. So Lily's the better character.
Also, Liliana has like 300 or so extra armor and magic damage in the first couple seconds after she goes in the fox form, so that's also that. All right,
she's a safer ranked climber.
Although I wouldn't pick either. I'd pick Jinner because moving too. Although for some reason, like, I was playing with the Jinner the other day. This is casual. Actually, maybe it was ranked. I forgot. I don't like. Platinum is about the same thing as casual anyway for me because I don't really care. Anyway,
pretty much.
So the Jinnar was really bad, and then I checked the rank after it was Masters. Apparently, people just can't play Jinnar sometimes. But you just pop your ult and you run to the team, and he kept popping his ult and running away. It's like, no, you have resistance, you have damage reduction when you go in there. Please just go. Anyway, sorry, that's my little rant for you guys. Looks like they have an interview with Neil, who we think was what won them the game by properly trading out his life for the damage dealers and allowing his team to march on the victory. Like we mentioned, J-Team take the victory over AHQ. They solidify the first place standing. And we are going to let the rest of this interview run while we get ready for One Team versus Hong Kong Attitude. See you guys in a little bit.
就让我拿一个刺客。
哦，不过呢，相对的林地在边线的发挥上，你觉得有发挥出它的效果吗？
前期风向有点乱。
前期风向有点乱，因此那场其实看不太出来，因为对面的Rush 的史兰兹也是表现得非常不错。对，但其实呢，在第一场的战局风向，其实在前期的时候是比较偏向 HQ 这边的，一直到呢14分之后一次4打5的会战，并且呢，你有不断的连续抓掉对面的后排，可以分享一下这边的会战，你们队伍是怎么沟通的啊？
就他们3个打他们自己的，就让我自由发挥。
哦，就是队友给你的站位，让你自己去发挥，他们就帮你卡好前面了。是。哇，那你们很信任彼此哦。
当然。
有一种去吃自助餐，你先去拿食材，我来帮你占位置，这种感觉。好，那想要再请问一下，因为第2场呢也是最纠结的一场，在高地塔可以说是一个矛盾大对决，最想推进你的3高地跟我要防守，我要清兵那边的话，你觉得最难处理的点是什么？
最难处理的就是兵线的处理啊，兵线一直涌进来，我们很麻烦。
而且他们不断的分推，
对，
然后3座塔血量都不好。都是摇摇欲坠的情况，但那一场也是很可惜呢，落败了 AHQ。那再来回到刚才最纠结的第3场了，在10分50秒的时候，那一个灵幻式的龙战非常漂亮，甚至 Wins 的马洛斯大招是被断掉的，但是后来呢，仰赖着大爆发的克里纳卡输出，甚至在非常前期的时候，搭配上雨中的赞尼尔，在边线上就有一个秒杀，这是一个新套路吗？
对，我们要想办法玩一个新的套路，不然我们的射手这一直被针对。
哦，被你们摸透了一整季。第一轮的时候，你觉得我们射手打野让大家受不了，现在要练一个新套路，从刺客打野开始变身，也是Neil今天表现非常好的地方。那今天看下来这3场，你觉得自己的表现如何呢？
还算可以，但还可以更努力的。
还可以再更努力 ，J-Team 也是不断的超越自己哦，在射手打野被针对之后，现在拿出了另类的刺客打野，今天呢也表现得非常不错。我们谢谢 Neil 接受我们的赛后访问。那紧接着呢，广告过后还回来有今天的第2场对战是由 HKA 要对上 One Team， 稍等一下，待会比赛马上回来。
Come on. No need to break for me. Come on. No need to cry for me. No need to run. This is my own place. No one's gonna break me.
开车的时候有 Airwaves 在手，随时随地让你觉醒一下。
各位挑战者们，大家好，欢迎收看《传说新闻快报》，我是今天的主播居哈。全球首例，台湾彩券将与电竞结合，推行传说对决刮刮乐，中奖、虚宝、公益3个愿望一次满足。那我们就把现场交给特派记者，很热。是的，主播8月17日起将开始贩售传说对决刮刮乐，总共有4款样式，每张售价为200元。每张传说对决刮刮乐皆附赠1组虚宝兑换序号，让你中奖、公益、虚宝3个愿望一次满足。但是要特别注意的是，未满18岁的挑战者们是不可以购买以及兑领彩券的哦。民众每购买1张刮刮乐，皆可以发挥公益彩券热心助人的本质。台湾彩券公司邀请大家一起买彩券、做公益、积功德。除了50个头奖50万元的高额奖金外，传说对决刮刮乐张张都有虚宝序号。要如何获得这款全球限量的刮刮乐呢？请看刮刮乐达人阿热的特别介绍。大家好，我是刮刮乐达人阿热。当你购买传说对决刮刮乐，你会在上面看到你的号码以及幸运号码。当刮开你的号码对中幸运号码的时候，就可以获得号码下面的奖金咯。大家一起去刮刮乐做公益吧！另外，最下方的传说对决游戏序号，刮开即可获得游戏虚宝，将有机会可以获得永久英雄、拉兹、图伦、艾里、永久造型、一拳超神、鹰吹雪、星海之霸或其他各种超值虚宝。头奖奖金50万元，张张送虚宝，全台限量发行，数量有限，售完为止。想试手气，要抢要快哦！以上是今天的传说新闻快报，感谢你的收看，我们下次见。
In buff. In buff. In buff. In buff, we trust. Buff 能量饮料含花青素双效登场。
其实可以看到说这一场跟上一场不一样的地方，就是瑞倒下2次。其实虽然在第1次的时候 HKA 没有做到事，哇塞，
这个百步穿杨，
这太夸张了吧！
你不要闹了。
这个炸下去，我刚刚到底看了什么？
勇还是可以持续拉到一个很好的位置，加上奇迹进场虽然有跳飞到了位置身上，但还是只能往这边拉开距离。阿亮这时间绑到了是勇。可以来得及吗？后面花来神剧，其他成员全部都跟上的情况下，这一波乱打是带掉了2名成员，连 Neo 也跟着倒。其实最后一下成功带掉，是打出了一波1换3了。
不会有太多，然后在经济上面的掠夺，输的那一方也不会亏太惨。
是，开启大绝了，是在 Neo 身上，但这边那个鲁斯已经来关在塔下，这个塔关的相当好，于中是又瞬移离开了，但最后手上最先拿到手中回的 选手，赞呐兄弟！
其实在这一波看到是，
对这一波哇，地狱雷鸣打到的情况下，沈俊这个下去还是没办法拯救到冰封，哇，连 Rain 也跟着击杀掉了，最后这怎么逃？这边想拉也没有办法，兰特打出了一波，
这个跳得漂亮。这边是压力，而且这边直接被绑到了。
对，但是
绑到了不理他，
不理他，怎么办？来得及吗？
天啊！他这边我绑到了之后，我直接就是不理你。
太夸张了 ！SNG。
接受了来自深渊的血脉，用恶魔的力量对抗恶魔。我们是猎魔者，猎杀一切来自深渊的黑暗生物，是猎魔者与生俱来的使命。一直以来，我们保护着人类，并享有着他们的尊敬。那是我们最荣耀的时代。然而，堕落者的出现，让人们对猎魔者产生了质疑。我们在战场上用剑和血证明了与深渊的势不两立，许多人就此死去。人存活下来的人，需要继续顽强地活下去。尽管这个称号已不复存在，但我从未忘记猎魔者这个身份背后的荣耀与使命。黑暗降临之处，皆为无知战场。
Come on. No need a break for me. Come on. No need a cry for me. No need to run. This is my own place. No one's gonna break me.
Hello， 欢迎回到2018 GCS 夏季职业联赛第8周第1天赛程的下半场对决，我是今天主播。
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the GCS IMD2. With me is the Source, Braun, the Source. What's your last name?
My last name is Mitchell.
Mitchell. Braun, the
But
Source.
effectively, you're just saying the source.
Right, because your name is the Source.
Yeah. Which is why people tend to use, other than broadcast, even across esports, it just tends to just be Braun. It's weird.
Also,
people call me.
Because I was eating a bite of my sandwich and I didn't realize it was coming on that quickly because I'm used to RPL, which takes forever. Apparently they play like really loud music while they're talking, which would be really annoying if we had to like yell in order to have ourselves heard over the music. But yeah. Anyway, moving on. We have our next match of the day. It's going to be One Team versus Hong Kong Attitude. Both of these teams are very much in the playoff race. As we take a look at Hong Kong Attitude first, it's going to be 4, Lenter, Garnett, Wesker, and Baysoon. We're going to call him. Guessing that C is a soft C. And they're going to go off against One Team who has been really up and down. Somehow defeating HQ, but also losing the Monster Shield. But Hong Kong Attitude's kind of been in the middle. They've been okay.
Yeah, okay is a good descriptor.
Both of these teams are okay. Although that said, they're okay in the context of this league, which means that they're really good.
There's some. I'm still not convinced that Monster Shield is that much better than the rest of the world.
You mean the bottom of the league?
Just like specifically Monster Shield.
Okay, anyway, Shanyo, Tura, Hualin, Ting, and Fanta. I would say that we're very impressed by Hualin, whereas the rest of One is kind of like, Although
Shanyo does a good job. My biggest issue tends to be Fanta. Just
yeah.
Fanta's positioning, Fanta's aggression. it takes a lot for the team to follow up on it. When they do, it looks great, but it seems like there's usually a very big disconnect between them in terms of shot calling and getting people in position to follow up on his aggression.
Right. And didn't we not have Hualin when they lost to Monster Shield?
I think one has a really big roster, if I remember correctly. I bring it up nearly every time because it just, to me, seems a little ridiculous. Yeah, one's got too many people on this team. They can, if the coaches play, they can internally scrim themselves. So I think they were running Yu Xiao
when
a little bit,
and
when they were losing.
We were singularly impressed with Hualin when they beat AHQ. So maybe keep Hualin in the lineup, unless he has unless he had like a family emergency or something like that.
There are plenty of reasons they may have been willing to try something, but Hualin should be their starting mid. Has a lot of playmaking potential. Plays a very good Liliana. Had that insane. I think it was like that. It was like a double triple kill.
Yeah, his Raz was amazing too. The first time we had a good chance to look at him was with the Raz.
That's true.
And we were like, AHQ is dominating them, but this Hualin guy looks really good. And then they managed to just demolish them behind the amazing play of Hualin, who just tore them apart. So yeah, Hualin, keep an eye on that guy. He's going places. But in any case,
my big thing about Hualin was his Liliana though, because there was that play in the Dragon Pit where he just turned and full the zeroed like 2 people to save them in a late game team fight. Like I can't forget that play from him.
It's like burned in your mind. You're like, whoa.
It just doesn't matter what. It honestly doesn't really matter what Hualin plays. He's going to be a playmaker for that team, and I think like base the team around him, facilitate him, find compositions that let him run rampant.
Braun's happy place is the 4K by Hualin. He's just like having a bad day. Let me go to my happy place. Oh.
It's like the Faker v Ryu Z. It's just one of the plays you think you're like, this is the pinnacle. This is top tier play. This is why I watch esports.
This is why I watch esports. Well, it's gonna be up to Hualin to take out Hong Kong Attitude, who has been, like we mentioned, kind of up and down, picking up some decent wins here, but also losing when they probably should not have. So it'll be interesting to see. I do have to favor one team just because despite their loss to Monster Shield, they're going to have Hualin in their lineup. And aside from that, they've been solid. They've never actually been bad, right? That was the one time where we saw them slip up, but it was also because Monster Shield played pretty reasonable themselves. So I think that they're both okay, and one is a little bit better okay.
Yeah, when one loses, they tend to lose because they got outplayed, not because they made massive mistakes or they drafted really badly. And they tend to lose to just somebody who manages to beat them in a team fight, has a better strategy, outrotates them. When they lose, they get beat. They don't throw or beat themselves.
Right. And we're actually seeing the Raz banned out here from HKA. I'm curious if they're going to ban the Liliana as well to just shut down Hualin as much as humanly possible.
Or first pick it.
Yeah, but first picking Liliana just feels bad.
They've done it before. Up against their series, up against Flash Wolves, game 1, they first rotationed Liliana Fennec. So they've done it before. If I look at a couple more of their drafts.
Ooh, ban onto the Yorn. That is targeting Wesker for sure. And
do it.
With 0 Chognar, or basically 0 support bans here, starting off with a Crest is really interesting. We might see some sort of Mina Chognar counter here. But no, going to hover over the Xenial for the moment. And yeah, they pick up the Liliana for Hualin right away to make sure that he's on that carry hero.
Another thing to consider is HK plays a net. I think they're the only team that plays a net.
No, there's multiple teams. It's just that they're the...
That's the only team I can remember playing it. I think maybe because Fanta has a good net.
They're the only team who is like in a reasonable spot in the standings to place in that, I would say. In any case, the Murad and Valheim picked up here. We haven't seen Valheim in a while, mostly because he's been banned, but also because he's not quite the insta-pick that he used to be. And okay, all right. double assassin potentially on the way here.
I'm fine with it.
It's just really interesting because we really haven't seen this. And when we have, it's been Murad Nakroth. So 2 very bursty assassins who can punish each other if one overextends. Because even if Murad uses his temporal turbulence and then teleports out of there, Krigna can certainly hunt him down. And kind of vice versa. So, finishing off with a Marja Jinnar. Ooh, look at this lineup from HKA. That is some hard engage if I've ever seen it. And even the Valheim can get in there and stun people to oblivion, so... Oh, no, go back to the Marja. Come on.
They're about to make...
If they pick the Malak, they leave open the Marja. This could be a fatal mistake. I want to see them insta-lock this Marja. Do it. Do it. Insta-lock the Marja. Seriously, I think that HK had such a terrifying... There we go! There we go! Oh my goodness! Do it. Do it, One. Do it. Do it for justice.
Yeah, do it. Do it for our sanity. They were about to make the cardinal mistake. They were like, Malik. And just
you cannot pick Malik without banning Marja. You just cannot do it.
We're gonna get to the end of the regular season, and I'm gonna have that hot season ending stat of Marja versus Malik wins, and it's just ooh, you don't do it.
Oh my goodness! And they had
like
such...
I wish I could talk to these players in person and be like, do you realize how badly Malik
honestly, okay. I think that the reason why they let it go all the way down to 0 and they didn't immediately lock it in is because they were like, did they just give that to us? Did they do that on purpose? Did they hover the Marja to make us have Marja in our head and then pick the absolute opposite hero? I think that's it. Like, one was like, did they just bait us into this pick? Like, I think that's the only thing, because it was so obvious to them. I think that's why they took so long. It was so obvious to them. They're like, we're not getting baited, are we? And they're like going through all the possibilities of like why this might be bad. Do you agree with me? I feel like that's exactly what they're thinking. Like, we're not getting baited, are we? Because this is just too perfect.
It definitely bared thinking upon, because that's just such a big mistake. Because if HK had just taken the Marja,
it would have been
perfect. One has
perfect.
to come up with an answer. One has to and then go into the Ryoma. In all likelihood, and then their composition's a little bit runs into some problems when they're clumping up, and you look at Marja, Jinnar, Crashed, Murad, just that big circle of death. Like, there's such a huge zone there that you cannot deal with.
Right.
You don't necessarily have anybody who's going to get on the Valheim in that scenario. Now they have the Marja, who's going to walk through your team. Now the Jinnar is never safe. Now the Malik is going to lose the lane. It's just...
Yeah. And they wanted the double engage. They wanted the metamorphosis into the shock, but that's overkill. Everyone's going to be running away.
They don't have Chognard. You don't need the second engage. You just need to catch one person, let Jinnar do his thing, and Valheim is going to pick somebody off. Murad is going to be putting pressure on. He might even just help you straight pop the one person you managed to catch with the...
And Marja, don't forget Marja, if she was in there after the metamorphosis, would have been doing lots of damage as well. Everyone would have just exploded. Oh my goodness. I think they made a
They would have
huge
exploded.
mistake. They can still win this game, but it's much, much harder than if
I'm gonna say one wins this right now. And in here, when I do Heroes of the Storm, I will call who I think is gonna win based solely on draft, and I have about a 72 on average % pick rate. One is gonna win this.
That's a humble brag if I've ever heard one. Anyways.
No, I'm back. I'm like, there's a reason I feel confident to make this call.
You only make calls when you're confident. There you go. That's where.
Oh no! I made the call no matter what. I feel confident in my calls, and I think that one brings enough with this composition that HK is going to need to get Lanter through the roof fed, or they're not going to be able to take team fights properly.
Well, let's see if they're able to do that. As Tura already has 4, going to be jumping
Wesker
on
is
Wesker.
dead.
He needs to flicker away. Even so, still is going to go down. One more auto attack will do it. Botches the flicker, although it's hard to botch the flicker unless there's a wall there, and there wasn't a wall there, but yeah, isn't able to make that work, and he goes down. That is the power of a Cricknack.
And so begins the death of HKA. just like that off the bat. You just put Tura in a grand position. You just gave him first blood.
And you lost the lane, which you're supposed to be winning, and the other lane's going to be pushed in even harder than that. So, yeah, this is not a good sign here. Fanta going to go in and try to get something done here. Hualin going to help with that damage as well against the Shining Light and Blinding Light onto 4. Who, by the way, we have 4 in our games again. This is... for 4, he is not looking so good on that Malak, especially because we have a hard time using actual words in broadcasts. But Lantern going to go back and try to clear his waves, or clear his rotation once more, as one collapses back on to the Abyssal. Now, Basin doesn't have Metamorphosis yet, and they are able to slip. Wow, they flicker forward into the Dark Dominion, onto Garnet. In comes the Angelic Splendor, but that's going to be a Reiki shot onto Bacon, which is going to land, and they're going to be chasing after this Malak here. And excuse me, that was not... was that Angelic Splendor? I'm getting confused. I'm getting confused between the Angelic Splendor and the Shock. I guess it was Angelic Splendor. I was getting confused because I got the teams mixed up, so I thought they're going to chase down the Xenial, but it turns out that that was the wrong team. In any case, never mind about that. The point is, Tura's taking a lot of damage. Is able to steal away the buff for, in the meanwhile, taking a lot of damage from the Marja, which, by the way, you picked Malak and the Marja. And one walks away with a 1,000 gold lead.
Yeah.
So,
I mean...
Soul Reaper picked up for Tura. I'm gonna just move on. We've already talked about this.
Yeah, it's just there's nothing really to do. There's nothing to be said there. At this point, one is looking to keep the pressure up. We see this setup in the mid lane. If they get caught, if Garnet gets caught, he's just going to die. There isn't really a way to save him.
Wow,
and
Dark
Lantern
Dominion
goes for the wall, gets pulled in by Fanta. Dark Dominion is used. Out comes the Temporal Turbulence. Garnet is using that damage.
Tura goes the other way.
Here comes the Angelic Splendor. It's going to keep Fanta alive. No, Basin goes in deep. Basin makes the play. This is a huge turnaround for HKA, and I'm surprised they were willing to take that fight as aggressively as they did.
Yeah, Tura tried to turn because he knew that his team was there and that Shanyo had the Angelic Splendor off of cooldown, but unable to make it, especially when he was so low like that, and just got CC'd out at the wrong moment. Now, the Abyssal Dragon is up in 10 seconds, but Tura will be in position to contest it. In fact, there are 4 members here for 1, and that might catch HK off by surprise if they decide to commit to this. And Lanter is moving, he's getting on his way as well. So, one, I think they were trying to set a trap, but unfortunately, HKA wasn't on the rotation, so they weren't there anyway. And
I mean, the longer this goes, the better it is for one. They want to wait for that Angelic Splendor to come back up. They pull it, or they pulled the Abyssal Dragon early. They give it some time. Tura does need to be careful about how far away he's willing to step. If they were to catch wind, they could have easily started to burn that down. I mean, things even out a lot. That play from the side of HK ends up being fairly significant for them. Here comes Lanther starting that up. They do have the Angelic Splendor again. You're going to start to see the Cricknack make his way to the bottom half of the map, but they do need to be a little bit quicker about this. It's at about half health. Lantern putting in some pressure. Fanta taking some damage. Huge Dark Dominion. They get the drone drop. They get the damage. In comes the Angelic Splendor. This should keep them alive, but they haven't actually all fallen on the side of
Reiki
HKA.
shot?
One has survived an incredibly long amount of time. Shanyo will be able to walk away from this. He's pretty tanky, but Tura just dipped. Tura needs to show up again. Those are some very killable targets. Ting is going to get dropped low. Lantern is there to kind of deter them. Who ended up even getting that dragon?
It was HKA, has to be, because it's 1-1 right now, and 1 took the first one. So HKA actually took that dragon, and they're ahead in gold now, especially because Wesker just stayed in that lane after the Angelic Splitter came in, took a tower, and HKA is taking the lead all of a sudden. So what happened there was a lot of damage. It was a great Dark Dominion, but Garnet was able to get his Exuberance, and as you know, that does so much damage, and everyone was clumped up there. So if one could have stayed around and used their abilities a little bit more, they could have probably taken out everyone, but they were so low that they had to get out of there, and everyone just kind of split. Which, I guess I'm trying to say that Garnet saved that fight because that was so much damage coming out of him.
Yeah, the Angelic Splendor needed to be immediate. I think it took too long.
Well, the Angelic Splendor is only going to provide damage resistance on one member. It's going to heal everyone, but it only provides that damage resistance on one, so it's hard.
Yeah, but Tura didn't stay. That's kind of my issue, is that Tura wouldn't stay in there, and the Angelic Splendor needed to be in the moment the drone drop started, and it took a couple of seconds.
Oops. Speaking of which, Tura taking a lot of damage from this Exuberance. He does go down the end for the final auto attack from Garnet. In comes the Marja so that he gets slowed and gets killed by the Reiki shot. Hualin gets extremely low. He's able to get out of there. Ting's doing a lot of damage from the side. They're able to pick off the Murad. In comes a great Dark Dominion. In comes the Shock as well to try to disengage, but Forrest in a lot of trouble. The Malleus is in there as well, trying to get that damage, and just flitting on the outside of this, trying not to get killed by one of these cleaves is the members of One, but they're able to finally take him out as the 3-man.
That's a full team wipe.
It is. How did they get the last hero?
Ting did absolute work. Chased underneath the tower, managed to get Basin down, but Ting did work.
Yeah, the Marja
was at
is
the
insane.
Perfect angle. Just did absolute damage the entire time, and Ting picked up 3 kills in that, I want to say. Like, that Marja just accelerated the build pretty far forward, gave the gold advantage back to One, made up for how well HKA played those early positionings, and I want to see a little bit of better aggression out of Tura. Tura's just not kind of finishing the job so well, and this should be a dead Wesker if they play this right.
Well, potentially. Ting's trying to bait, but taking a lot of damage in the meantime. Wesker is pretty fast when he has a lot of those auto attacks off. And they're going to go ahead and back off. About a 2,000 gold lead here for One. But Tura, I think he's doing okay. It's just very difficult to combine with this team, right? Shanyo, obviously, there's the ability to combine those two abilities. But Ting kind of flits around the outside. Fanta likes to use a Dark Dominion. Doesn't really like to use on one member. So it makes it a little bit more difficult. But speaking of Dark Dominion, oh my goodness, the pull in the Dark Dominion gets so many members out. Here comes the Metamorphosis to try to disengage. Looks like it's going to be successful, but wow, gets it onto Lanter, and Lanter just pops. But they're not done yet. Basin's staying way too long. The fadeaway from Hualin, getting that shining light off to kill him in the end. And HKA, what are you doing, guys? Do not feed more kills here. As One looks to push in onto this mid tower. Can Garnet and 4 hold on to this? In comes the Exuberance. The pull tries to come here from Fanta. They are able to clear the minion wave because of it, but that's all they're able to do. Now moving on to this bottom tower, the zone out here from Ting allows them to take that as well. Wesker in a little bit of trouble. Is he gonna? Oh, the flicker and the Dark Dominion can't even speak with these plays here from Fanta, doing so well in this new aggressive position on Mina. Really making things happen, and One really playing around that, but drone drop comes in. Lantern, can he get out? Maybe. That shining light was extremely close there to being able to land after the blinding light, and they're going to aggress onto this enraged Abyssal Dragon.
I want to go back to Fanta's Flicker Dark Dominion.
He's actually doing work.
Tura was nowhere to be found, and we literally just saw the perfect example of the issue that One has with Fanta. Fanta made a sick aggressive play. Nobody on his team was ready for it. Nobody was prepared for Fanta to do that. Not his opponents, not his teammates. So like that right there is, in my opinion, an opportunity missed, and that should showcase what.
Look at Fanta just pulling this gold.
Yeah, Fanta's having a hell of a game right now. Like, Fanta is on his game. He has pulled that buff camp multiple times.
Fanta?
Now Tura has shown up. Lanter steps forward. I don't know if Garnet actually wants this fight. They are going to steal that away. It is going to go into the hands of Tura as the minion waves get set up again. But that could have turned out pretty badly for them. Dark Dominion wasted by Fanta. Again, nobody was there to be able to capitalize on that. Tura wasn't there. They didn't have the Liliana for the Shining Light.
Well, they do get the mid
this
tower,
is-
though.
They get something out of it, but that was I want to say inevitable because they have the buff off the Abyssal Dragon. Like they're gonna get something, fall in deep in enemy territory, but it's fine. They get a good rotation out. They get a tower, but like we're seeing like Fanta keep the aggression up, just like someone else be there to help the play.
4.
That's what I'm talking about.
And because Metamorphosis try to keep members alive, Basin going in though, and none of his team is actually there, but one isn't there to capitalize either as they back off. Their Abyssal buff is about to wear off in a moment, but the members of HK have used multiple ultimates in that spot there. They used the Shock. Actually, Shock's back up. How is that back up already? But in any case, they use the Metamorphosis. And one is taking a pretty significant gold lead at this point at near 7,000.
It is starting to build up for them. By a little bit, they're not. The gold is a lot of the gold is on that Marja. That Marja is in a good spot.
Well, they have 3 at over 8,000 here. So between the Xenial, the Liliana, and the Marja, they're going to be doing so much damage. They don't even really need her to do anything. He can just be a distraction. Just jump in there, and then all of a sudden they get demolished by the triple magic damage output from the side of one here. And speaking of magic damage, where is the magic defense? Crest just building that Bolt of Clarity, I believe it's called, so doesn't have a lot there. And Malik's trying to build some more magic defense himself, but only has the Gaia standard at the moment. So they're really hurting, especially when it comes to that, because all the damage from one is coming from that magic source right there. Out comes the Drake. They're going to be pushing onto this mid tower here. Can Phantom make the plays here for his team? And can his team follow up like we've been mentioning here? Trying to protect the Drake. No minion waves to the name in this mid tower, excuse me. But they do have it on the top lane. In comes those waves, so can they take this out? Looks like they're going to aggress onto it, but out comes the Metamorphosis. In comes the Exuberance as well as a Shock. Not hitting anything. Massive damage coming out from the Marja and the Liliana. So much damage coming in here, but they are still under the tower, which is still up. Finally, it does go down. Big temporal turbulence, but not going to be enough here with all this healing, and multiple members are dying on the side of Lantern and Garnet going down, excuse me. Just too much here from one, as they have that massive gold lead.
Yeah, and if they lose any more members, Shock is going to go through, knocks him up under the tower. That's a good Dark Dominion to keep Wesker from really getting away. Basin under trouble. They've got 5 members. They should just be able to hit onto the core, and that will be GG going over in favor of Team 1. And it slowly spiraled out of control, but I think you were right. It was the other members. It was that Marja on the flank that set them ahead, and I don't know what you do past that.
That was obviously it's a tough position to be in, being down 7,000 gold and the Darkslayer buff and the Drake and trying to hold on, but that was an extremely poor engage by HKA at the end there. They used 3 massive ultimates, the Shock, the Metamorphosis, and the Exuberance, and they just did it under their tower and didn't get any minions or heroes. It was very, very poor. And we can, have our victory lap, you and I, because Marja was really good, and the Shock was redundant. He shocked on top of where the waves were still flowing from the Metamorphosis, and no one was there anymore.
I'm saying it now. Malik is...
We've been casting so many games, and you cannot pick Malik if you haven't banned Marja. It's just,
Malik is hard countered by Marja, but even if Marja is not on the field, we are literally just seeing Malik is a C tier hero.
It's starting to seem like it. Well, okay.
Malik is a C tier hero.
He's might have been useful.
He's B tier if Marja is not in the game. If Marja is in the game, he's like an F tier hero. So overall, he's a C tier hero.
Yeah, he
brings nothing to the table anymore. He's too predictable. He is too easily countered. Teams know how to play around him, and usually when you win, he is not the answer.
By the way, was my face on the stream the entire time? I was supposed to get my face away. Oops. Anyway, can we explain why Marja counters him? Marja, there's nothing Malik can do against her in lane, because if she tries to damage, her, she just heals it right back up. And meanwhile, she can damage him from a range. She has longer range than him, and she heals more. So Malik can't touch her, and she can completely demolish him. And even if he gets close enough to be able to cleave her, she can just ghost walk away.
So this is just it all stems from the issue with Malik. Malik has nothing to keep the enemy team there once Shock is used. If Shock doesn't fully connect, or Shock is countered by, say, a Chognar, or Shock does connect, but the team has some ability to escape, Malik is no longer useful. Malik, like Tara, which I was bringing up before, needs you to want to fight him. He needs to sit there and he needs to cleave you multiple times. So first off, the way Malik is built tends to be tanky instead of damage based. So everyone is saying, and then it's like, well, you get the damage off the cleave, but you have to land 2 cleaves for that to be effective. In that time, in most team fights, people have either kited you or gotten away.
Yeah, and at the very least, you need to have that singular ult as far as setting up your team. Because if they don't have a Chognar, there's no reason to have 2 ults that set up the team fight. If you have already the Metamorphosis going in, they're already running away, or you've already pushed them away. So in this sort of situation, even if they don't have a Marja, you cannot really pick them with the Crush because it's way too redundant and you're not doing enough, right? If they
it does no damage because people build him tanky. They build him this tanky bruiser. They expect to sit in the fight and people to be afraid of the cleave. And this is to the point where I think he's become too predictable. We all know how to beat a Malik, and it doesn't take that much skill. Avoid the cleave, and that's it. Don't get cleaved. If you don't get cleaved, what else does he bring to the table?
Right. Like, sometimes he can... Like, you saw that one fight where he was stalling 3 people because everyone was dancing on his cleave, but... that's about as much as you can do, and most heroes can stall out fights like that anyway. So yeah, it's just you can't do anything with Malik. It's just
he's not damage OP, he's not tank OP, and we've all learned how to beat him. So automatically he's a lower tier pick now, in my opinion. And then on top of that, if Marge is in the game, he's just straight useless.
Yeah, I think the only way that he's useful is if he's part of your major frontline. I think that's maybe why HKA shied off of the Marja onto him with obviously faulty logic, but they were thinking we need a more heavy frontline. But they already had the Jinnar. That's kind of enough already. And so they just didn't have enough to go in there. And
if you had somebody else who could go, if you had somebody else who could go in and also brought damage threat, so like Bruiser-esque. And I say it once more, Irie. Irie does damage while CCing and doing tanking. Like, Ryoma is better in that scenario because once the Metamorphosis comes out, he is able to be the thing that says, people look to re-engage on the crash or get around the crash, and it's like, well, Ryoma's there, one good Wailing Blade, Spectral Ire, like there's a serious damage threat there to deter people from wanting to re-engage on you, and his chase isn't that bad. If he chases somebody, gets a good Wailing Blade, they are going to take some solid damage. You have Omen. I mean, Omen was banned in that game, so that wasn't an option, but I think there are other... So, like, come on. Give me Scud. Even Scud is going to bring more to the table than the Malik is, because he's going to split up the team fight with Wild Beast Fury. He is going to dunk somebody with his damage. Like, play Scud. Like, play Scud over Malik. Scud will clear the lane and run away from the Marja. He'll just walk up to it, empowered auto attack, bam, wave gone, run away, done.
Yeah, and if you want a better team fight option, you can even go for something like a Wonder Woman. So it's there's multiple things you can do. Well, we've gone long enough about the Malik, and it just isn't the standard. You can pick him any situation. If you want to have him, you have to have more of a dive sort of composition, or maybe just have like your only one, like a re-engage sort of situation. If you have a heavy backline, and if you are trying to dive, he needs to be your only dive to make people run away and cause chaos, so that the rest of your team can pick him up. But doesn't need to have that redundancy. Let's start with this particular draft, pretty similar to the last draft as far as the bans are concerned. The big difference being the Valheim banned out here from ONE. And it certainly makes sense because they had to kind of a difficult time with Xenial opposite the Valor in that last game. Now, HKA, last game they banned out the Superman and the Raz. They've done neither this time. So we'll see what they opt to do with their final ban here. By the way, if you guys are curious about the Yorn ban, it's because Wesker plays a mean Yorn. Don't want to get that out of the way.
Yeah, he's that young Yorn one trick.
Okay, well, they get rid of the Kirkneck, which means that the two heroes that they were concerned about last time are in the draft, Raz and Superman. Let's see if one decides to pick it up. No, they go for the Martian right away, realizing how important that was. Kind of funny that it went from last pick to first pick here.
I mean, she doesn't have a whole lot of hard counters. She's pretty safe.
Yeah, you and I are not. You and I are not against the first pick Marja. We're
no. First pick Marja is both a.
It's the new Malik. It's like you can do anything.
The new Malik. It's a really good neutral pick. It doesn't give away your composition. It doesn't have any true hard counters. It answers every lane reasonably. The best counter is a skill matchup with Ryoma. That is the best answer we have seen to Marja. Is people playing Ryoma, getting really good at jungle assistance pressure, meaning it's not a true 1v1, and it's a skill matchup. It all comes down to how good that Ryoma is at like Wailing Blade Pinwheel, like aggression combos. If they're really good, they can poke the Marja, stop her from getting tanky enough, stop her from getting the opportunity to clear waves and get the flank. If they don't, she does Marja things. So I'm more than okay with her. She's a super safe pick. Xenial's a decent answer to her. He can kind of clear the wave and get out of there. They're going to pick up the Liliana for give that to Garnet and take that away from Hualin. But Raz is through, so I expect us to see a Raz pick up for Hualin down the line, probably in the last two picks.
And the Murad here picked up by one, when it was obviously on the side of HKA last time. Looks like HKA is going for a pretty different comp, at least so far. Obviously, they can turn it on a dime, since their first two heroes allow them to do that. Is Yevoneth available? Did we see Yevoneth in last week's matches? I'm forgetting. I think we did.
No.
Didn't we?
No. Yevoneth was neither picked nor banned in last week's matches.
Huh. I was about to predict this. With no Yorn, the closest comparison is the Telenos. Here we go, Wesker and Tel. Let's do this. Alright, one, looks like they're really focusing in on being able to dominate these side lanes. So I can see them going for the Kilgoth here. And like we mentioned, Raz going on that Hualin. We haven't really seen Hualin on anything other than Raz and Liliana. So that might be something for teams to think about going forward. Potentially they can ban out both or ban and pick one. But regardless, we're not going to see it this time as we see the master Raz player once more.
Okay. I actually thought that Emily was about to go through for half a second, but it's going to be Superman.
Yeah, Superman's reasonable as well, especially for the dive. A bit better than Kilgroth in those team fights. Able to jump in on the backline, cause havoc, allow Murad to pick off targets. This is, I'm a hemmin and a han because Baesoon needs to be the most godly of Chognars in the world, or else they're going to be ping-ponged, pinballed around this battlefield. Push back from Superman, stun Temporal Turbulence from Murad, push back from Raz, pull in from Mina. I think this is a draft win here for Team 1.
Yes. Team 1 will win.
Yep, we're going for the prediction.
Yep. Team 1's gonna win.
Predictions in, lock it in.
Zephyr
it yellow.
is gonna dive in. Zephys is gonna dive in, get thoroughly abused. The Marta is gonna have a pretty solid lane up against Xenial or Telenos. So I don't think Marja really cares. And he gave Hualin Raz just too many things are in their corner. Like we've now seen that Marja, the one can play a solid Marja. We get a Superman for additional pressure. Mina is always good. Hualin's Raz is 10 out of 10, and
there's no marksman for
there's
Zephyr
also
to
Mirage.
dive.
Yeah,
There's no marksman to dive for.
He's gonna go in
Lantern.
and die.
Yeah.
He's gonna straight go in and die. Every time.
Or just have people jump around him and not get affected while they dive the Wesker. So, oh wow. Basin already taking damage here, already used his first ability to get that CC immunity, but that means he was vulnerable there to Shanyo, and Shanyo's just making a mockery of this mid lane, getting that pressure in. So it's going to be Tura just taking his own buff at the moment. A little bit of pressure between the Mina and the Superman up top to try to make things annoying here for Lantern. And yeah, as long as things go relatively even in this early game, it feels like one has that advantage. So going to be very nice for them. Lantern is just like, okay, I don't even want to deal with this. Just you can have your monkey, okay? I'm leaving. Going to this buff over here.
I'm taking my ball and I'm going home.
Shanyo just being a menace. It's like, please, Superman, go home. You're so annoying. And he does, but that is the power of Superman. He's super fast, clears the wave, runs away, and makes it a constant 5v4 on the battlefield. Ooh, nice steal from Garnet. Steal of the steal. So, retainment of that. But does get some damage as well. The counter steal.
Straight Robin Hooded that.
Turret to see if he can't make something happen here on this side before any of the major monsters, the epic monsters, come up. For trying to get away, gets the Malleus at the pull as well. Turret trying to get damage in. Fanta taking a lot of damage from this turret, and so too is Tura, so they can't really stay around much longer. Superman's going to walk away, and Garnet is going to show up just to provide that extra pressure while the Abyssal comes up. Lantern goes in with a nice death from above. Ting does not have Ghostwalk yet, so a little bit of trouble. But as I said, Hualin's bringing the damage, getting in there and picking off Lantern with the help of Ting. And that is the Hualin that we know and love, just saying, I don't care if you're a jungler, I'm going to take you out anyway.
So, I hope everybody take note, class. This is why you don't give Hualin Raz. Ever. Ever.
Well, he's been amazing on the Liliana too, but I don't think that people are paying enough attention. I think you need to ban both.
Yeah, but we were talking about this during the previous break. The question was, who's better for grinding? Liliana is safer. She doesn't need as much to get the job done. But Raz has the potential to just make more plays if played by a player of a high caliber. Enter Hualin, Exhibit A, of a player who can bring out the full potential of the Raz. That was a pretty low health Raz. He was basically one auto attack away from dying. He was able to make that play, pull it off, get the kill, get out of there, heal himself up, and he has him back.
And save Ting while he was at it.
And save Ting in that entire thing. Like that to me should show why that character is just something. Don't give him that hero.
Well, that all said, we have a collapse here in the bottom lane, 3v2. Big Dark Dominion coming off. Wesker's in trouble. That's a tell. He's going to be going down. In comes the Angelic Splendor to get something off. Tura's in a lot of trouble here. Already used that Temporal Turbulence, but in comes Hualin. Is he going to get some damage here? Pulling onto Basoon. Ting trying to get some work done himself. Meanwhile, at the top of your screen there, Shanyo's taking up. He's cutting off the lane, so 4 needs to get back there, or else he's going to be losing a tower. And Hualin's just being a nuisance, getting off these power surges onto multiple members. And they had to back off, which means that HKA might be losing some towers in the top here. So in the end, despite the fact that they traded out okay, HKA is hurting a bit.
Yeah, and you saw Hualin's positioning there. He knew the angle they had to take. He knew he was able to cut that off. It wasn't a safe Abyssal Dragon approach for the side of HKA, and it just turns in their favor. Now pressure onto Ting. We'll use the Ghost Walk. Garner's there looking for an opportunity. The ultimate comes out from Wesker, but doesn't really result in anything. And here's Hualin, like just ready. Just constantly ready to the point where Lantern has to leave. Now we see Basin coming in from the side. Fanta's there, double pull in, Dark Dominion to keep them busy. Tura goes onto the Abyssal Dragon, is looking to get that burst damage. Lantern dive forward, but it is going to be picked up, and Basin super, super low. Mally is forward for 4. I don't really know if they're going to be able to get anything else out of this, and Superman is still just chilling top lane.
Yeah, they're doing all of this fighting 4v5. As Shanya doesn't even want to rotate, wants to get that extra tower value there, realizing that his team is trustworthy enough to take these fights. Gonna go ahead and pop his ult so he can get some more auto attacks onto this tower here. Looks like he's gonna be able to do so, and he does. He gets the tower down, even with 4 sticking around there. Basin trying to get some pressure on him, but Shanyo, he ain't scared. He's gonna keep walking in there. And as we say that, Tura's trying to put pressure onto this Spirit Sentinel. Probably going to get these auto attacks off just so he can maybe perhaps go for a temporal turbulence onto the team. But no, he just takes it out himself.
Yeah, so far it isn't a massive lead for one, but I haven't seen HKA really be able to do a whole lot. Items are starting to build up. I mean, really, they only caught Tura, who was out of position, and now we're starting to see a bit of a collapse. That's going to be 2 onto Fanta. They're going to get slowed down by Ting. Angelic Splendor has been used. Basin is at less than half health. He goes forward. Lantern, now he's going to get slowed. Gets hit with the combo. Great Chaos Protection to keep him alive, help him not get pulled back by the explosive KO. And Superman just doing his thing, pushing in the mid lane. Fanta going to chase Garnet. I mean, just going to be annoying. And that's really about it, but... again, another attempted play from HKA and nothing to really show for it. They're going to lose this bottom tower.
Dark Dominion.
Ooh, Dark Dominion forward.
Good
Basin
night.
is dead.
Fanta! When his team is aggressive, Fanta looks great. We were talking about him being over-aggressive.
Wallen and Fanta. Like, usually the problem is that Fanta just can't make anything happen. Wesker's going to die. Tura will survive.
Oh, maybe. No, not quite. Not quite.
No, not enough damage. Wallen left. Wallen went mid.
Well, to be fair, Tura should have been able to take care of that himself and had the invulnerability when that tower shot hit. But didn't have it in the end. Shanyo and crew are trying to take down this tower. Can they get it off? No. One more power surge is going to land onto Lantern, but not enough to take down the tower. One looking pretty decent. The biggest thing for them is they're taking multiple towers, and that's huge for these major objectives coming up. The Dark Slayer is going to come up in 50 seconds, and they have, once they take down this middle tower, lots of map control to be able to secure that. Lancer's going to come in on Hualin. He's taking a lot of damage. Doesn't really have many dashes out, but able to get maybe out the Dark Dominion, trying to save him, but in comes the Chaos Protection to finish off the kill. Hualin fighting a little more than he can chew, but the distraction takes down the tower, so worth? Question mark, question mark, question mark?
I mean... question mark, kind of like question mark, like that's like so. Okay. I don't really have a good way to wrap that all up. So we're gonna see one putting some pressure on the Abyssal Dragon.
Yeah, 5 members over here. Well, looks like Denial was rotating back over to the top side of the map. But they had multiple members there, so I am supporting one's decision not to contest that. One thing I'm noticing is that you never really see Wesker in any of these fights unless his entire team is there in front of him or he's behind a turret. It just seems like anytime they're trying to go forward, Wesker isn't there, and that's because he can get dove so easily. Speaking of diving, Xianyo onto the back line here. Chaos Protection has to go out. In comes the Temporal Turbulence, but Xianyo's not giving up, getting onto Garnet, and he's pushing him back. He has that heal to be able to get that extra movement speed as well as keep himself alive in these fights, and they have to back off here. Speaking of which, Shira goes inside. In comes the Angelic Splendor, as well as the Dark Dominion. Lantern getting a lot of damage onto him. Does he want to continue this? No, he's going to death from above away to try to get out of there, but 4 is taking a ton of damage, gets pulled in, gets knocked up, gets Temporal Turbulence, and he is going to fall in an instant. That is the scary part about this lineup. From one, they just never give up. They have the characters to do so. They jump in and just finish you off.
Yeah, they have more than enough tools to chase down, and that chase down comes with pretty high damage and plenty of crowd control. Lantern goes forward. I don't know how safe that was. He'll be fine as the members of ONE continue to rotate around the map, but you gotta.
Sorry, every time Wesker is like in none of these fights, he's just cleaning up the minion waves when they get pushed to the tower. It's just like with this, Telenos can do nothing in this game. Oh my goodness! Bye bye, Lantern. Bye bye.
Yeah, bye bye, Lantern.
Shanyo even just jumps forward in case there was a death from above away, but he's going to pay for it with his life, maybe? Yeah, he does. In comes a Reiki shot, potentially. That's going to make everyone run away from that, but yeah, that was kind of funny. This Shanyo thought he was playing, he thought he was going for the prediction jump over, but instead he just died. In any case, it is still a 4v4. One's going to take advantage of their map advantage and take this Dark Slayer. HKA is either none the wiser or doesn't want any part of this.
I'm gonna hazard that just doesn't want any part of it. Like they've gotta have enough of a sense to know that this could be a possibility, and there's like no, just not feeling it.
Well, this is the scary part of the game. Tura, the funny thing about Murad is it's not just his gold farming, it's actually his levels, because his dash is on like a 5-second cooldown now, whereas in the early stages of the game it's more like 12 seconds. So once you dash in, you use your ultimate, you can't really get out, whereas your dash is seemingly always off cooldown, which allows him to become that ultimate bot. I mean, by ultimate bot, I mean temporal turbulence bot, and just constantly use it, and it's so difficult to deal with. You constantly have to be keeping aware of those monsters, but Lantern's so much trouble here. In comes the Dark Dominion. The nice Chaos Protection gets him out of there, but he might die anyway. Ting trying to make it happen. Down goes Baesoon, and oh my goodness, Ting is making stuff happen on this Marja. Speaking of make stuff happen, these towers are about to go down. Forest trying to clear out the minion waves, but not going to be able to do it fast enough. Okay, he's able to get down in the end. The Drake is working on the mid tower, though. Looks like it's likely going to go down because HKA is not in position, and down it goes. But then in the meantime, Ting takes a lot of damage, able to get out there in the end using that Ghost Walk, and multiple members die as I say that from HKA. Oh my goodness, the dive is just so spectacular here from One. Seems like they're going to die, and it doesn't matter in the end. They're on top of the core. They're just playing with their food now, getting multiple kills as they get right on top, and that has to be game even without the minions. They're just styling on them now.
Yeah.
What is happening?
It's pretty much over.
They're just being back in the middle of their base. Like, okay, fine. GG. Oh my goodness. One. Our number one, at least for today.
Yeah, pick up the victory. They'll bring it home with the top tier drafts as we knew they would. And it got too obvious. It got too easy.
The funny thing is,
you can see the flaws in the composition.
They banned Lindis, Valheim, and Yorn. Do you think they were baiting out the immobile marksman? They were like, we're so afraid, we're gonna ban out everyone. Then HKA goes, it's okay, we have Wesker on Telenos. And then they're like, just kidding. Full dive.
But at the same time, like, did it even matter? Like, did Wesker even die? He died like once. No, he didn't matter. He wasn't even a target.
No. But that's the whole point. He was such a target that he was hiding behind towers the entire game. He wasn't a part of any fight. He was literally just a scared little baby under the tower. Like, every single time I saw him, he was under a tower. Or, like, way behind his team. He was doing zero that game.
That's fair. I don't know. I feel like it wouldn't... I can't strictly say it would have mattered.
Yeah, they got the entire draft of One, which is better in all respects. Well, One, they look solid. They've always looked solid. Anytime they lose, it's because the team just is incredible. Or Monster Shield for some reason. But a lot of that had to do with Wallen. In any case, our games for you tomorrow, our games for today are done. If you don't, we're not going to spoil them, so go ahead and check the VODs if you want to watch those. First match between AHQ and J-Team was a pretty good one. Tomorrow we have Monster Shield and Mad in the battle of the bottom teams in the league. But after that, Flash Wolves versus SMG. SMG trying to make their way up the ladder, trying to make it to those playoffs. And it starts with Flash Wolves after they had their emotional upset over J-Team last week. So can SMG climb into the playoffs with just 3 weeks remaining? They have plenty of games to do so, but they need to start defeating even more of the top teams, not just J-Team.
Yeah, it's definitely still a long road. They're going to need some very significant wins, and I think a lot of what they got was having the crowd behind them. Ting. I mean, Ting had that baller flank in mid.
I'm laughing
game
because
two.
like I because I agree that was he was just laying on the damage. They could do nothing about him. 27% damage and 0 deaths. Take that. So, yeah, Marja, it's good. Pick him, pick her.
Yeah, just pick Marja. Play Marja. She's good. She wins games.
Although when I pick her, I do the pro build with the flashy boots into the Barris, but then I have lots of ping, so I got stun locked and die, and then I want to pick the gilded, but then when I pick gilded, I have 0 damage, and then I'm like, no. Or I mean, obviously you don't get extra damage with the flashy, but the cooldowns are so good.
Yeah.
Anyway, we are going to get out of here. We have GCS all the rest of the week, so make sure you tune in around this time, at least for the next few days. On Saturday, our time, super late Friday, most other times, it's going to be different. So if you live in the US, it's going to be early morning. What's the day right now for you? Thursday?
Today is Thursday.
Wait, they're playing through Sunday?
Yeah. I've been telling you, man. We have games till the 15th straight. RPL Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. GCS Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay,
Till
well,
the 15th.
Anyway, check the schedule below the doobly-doo thingy, at least until the 6th. Yeah. And at least for tomorrow's match, tune in at the same time. We'll see you guys then. Anything you want to say?
Time for sleep.
Time for sleep. For me too. It's actually 11
Catch
p.m.
y'all
here.
later.
That's actually normal sleep time. Anyway, thanks guys for watching. Catch you tomorrow. Bye-bye.